Chapter 564. Realizing what he was thinking, Zhang Yichen's face darkened. He walked straight back to the private room. Su Qingsang was confused by the short and sudden question. She didn't know if it was just her imagination, but she felt that Zhang Yichen's attitude was weird. Without thinking too much, she followed him into the private room. Hua Jingyao had just finished talking to Li Junxing about Lin City when he saw Su Qingsang following Zhang Yichen into the room. Zhang Yichen's expression was serious, but he quickly calmed down after he entered the private room. Su Qingsang, who was following him, didn't notice his expression at all. She was still happy for Shi Mengwan, but also a little hesitant to tell Wan Xianying that Shi Mengwan was going to France. Looking at the two of them, Hua Jingyao suddenly felt that something was wrong. However, Li Junxing's voice soon caught his attention. He couldn't pay attention to Su Qingsang and Zhang Yichen anymore. Zhang Yichen didn't stay with them for long. Halfway through the meal, he received a call. He had an urgent mission. He hung up, told Hua Jingyao and left. Hua Jingyao didn't mind. Zhang Yichen always came and left in a hurry. He was used to it. As for Su Qingsang, Wan Xianying was still pestering her to put in a good word for Shi Mengwan. She had no choice but to agree to ask for Shi Mengwan's opinion, but she couldn't guarantee the result. Wan Xianying thanked her profusely. Su Qingsang thought that he was such a fun guy. She didn't know why he liked Shi Mengwan so much that he was so persistent. She only hoped that Shi Mengwan would make it clear to him, so that he would give up soon. When Zhang Yichen was about to leave, he saw Su Qingsang chatting happily with Wan Xianying. His eyes darkened and he kept walking outside. At that moment, Hua Jingyao happened to see Zhang Yichen's last look. His heart skipped a beat, and he suddenly turned around to look at Su Qingsang. She didn't notice it at all. Su Peijian and Old Master Hua finished the game of chess. She had a faint smile on her face. "Grandpa Hua, you're so good. You know my style. I've lost 3 games in a row. You're still young. It's good enough that you're like this." Old Master Hua had a smile on his face. Su Peijian had followed Hua Yifan to visit him today, and the two of them had played a few rounds together. Su Peijian was a sweet talker and good at chess. Old Master Hua really found her pleasing to the eye. Hua Yifan sat at the side with a faint smile on his face. He watched Su Peijian and Old Master Hua talking hand to hand. Su Peijian was halfway through the game when she looked at the stalemate on the chessboard. "Grandpa, you're amazing. I need to think about this step. I need to go to the bathroom first. I'll come back and play with you later." "All right. I'll wait for you to come back and figure out what to do next." Su Peijian smiled and got up to go to the bathroom. She had already been to the Hua mansion twice. "I know where the bathroom is." When he came out and passed the corridor, he happened to see the maid Xiao Xia, holding a plate of fruits in her hands. It seemed like she had just come out from the kitchen. Xiao Xia knew that Old Master Hua liked Su Peijian very much, so she greeted her. Su Peijian looked at the plate of fruit in her eyes. "Is this for Grandpa? Give it to me. I'll take you out." "No, this is for Madam." Xia was referring to Lu Tongjia. Su Qingsang looked at the exquisite fruits on the plate and reached out to Xia. "Let me help you." "That's not a good idea, is it? You are the guest. How can I let you serve it?" "I'm fine. Last time, Auntie said that she had something to tell me. I'll go and ask what's going on." Since she had said so, Xiao Xia didn't think much of it and handed the fruit platter to Su Peijian. Su Peijian picked up the fruit platter and asked for Lu Tongjia's location. She carried the fruit platter upstairs. When she arrived at Lu Tongjia's room, she realized that the door wasn't locked. She was about to knock on the door when she heard voices coming from inside. "These two people really don't have any scruples." Lu Tongjia's voice rang out. She was obviously angry. Su Peijian stopped knocking on the door and stood there motionlessly. Silence. No sound came from inside. Soon Lu Tongjia's voice was heard again. "Are you the only one who saw it? Or did someone else see it?" "I'm the only one who saw it. Last time, Madam told me to keep an eye on young mistress." The voice sounded younger. Su Peijian didn't have time to think about who it was. She only paid attention to the content of the voice. "Young mistress? Wasn't that Su Qingsang?" Su Peijian narrowed her eyes and stood to the side to avoid the crack of the door. She moved closer to the inside so that she could hear more clearly. "What a shameless person. Lu Tongjia couldn't say anything more. She snorted and said, "You can leave now. Delete the photos on your phone. Don't let anyone else see them." "Yes. Also, don't tell Jinyao about this for now." "Yes." Su Peijian's conversation ended. She quickly walked toward the stairs. The moment the door opened, she turned around and pretended that she had just come up. Someone came out. Soon, she saw the person coming out. It seemed to be the maid of the Hu family. She narrowed her eyes and didn't bring the fruit platter in. Instead, when she passed by the maid, her foot suddenly slipped. The fruit platter in her hand fell, and she let out a soft cry. "Miss Su, are you okay?" Xiaojiang looked at Su Peijian. She naturally knew Su Peijian. She had been here twice. "I'm fine." Su Peijian looked at Xiaojiang. She was still holding the phone in her hand. She immediately thought of what Xiaojiang had said. The photos on her phone? What photos? "Sorry, I couldn't walk steadily and accidentally dropped the fruit platter. Look, can you help me clean it up? This is for Auntie. I can't give it to her like this." Okay. These things were done by them. Xiaojiang didn't think much and squatted down to pick it up. Su Peijian took her phone. "I'll hold it for you. You clean it up. I'll go downstairs and get one." Okay. Xiaojiang wanted to clean up the fruit platter as soon as possible. She didn't think much and focused on picking up the fruits on the ground. Su Peijian took her phone and went downstairs. When she reached the stairs, she turned on Xiaojiang's phone. Fortunately, the other party didn't encrypt it. She flipped through the photo album and found some selfies and landscape photos of Xiaojiang. Other than that, she also found some other photos in an unencrypted folder. Looking at those photos, Su Peijian almost laughed out loud. Su Qingsang, I really didn't expect you to be so bold. No wonder Lu Tongjia scolded you. In the photo, Su Qingsang was cuddling with a man. The man hugged her from behind. In another photo, she was standing face to face with the man. Chapter 565. The man in the photo had a good temperament. He wasn't as handsome as Hu Jinyao, but he was strong and stylish. His facial features were well defined. More importantly, there were photos of him and Su Qingsang, as well as photos of him alone. He looked in the direction where Su Qingsang had left, his eyes focused and eager. Su Peijian wouldn't believe that the man didn't have feelings for Su Qingsang. Su Peijian looked at the photos and smiled silently. Su Qingsang, you put such a big weakness in my hands. If I don't make good use of it, I'll be sorry for our sisterhood." Su Peijian sent the photos to her own phone through Bluetooth as fast as she could. Then, she saved them one by one and quickly went downstairs. He ordered a new fruit platter to be served. Xiaojiang didn't notice that her phone had been touched. She was still grateful to Su Peijian for bringing her the fruit platter. Su Peijian, who had achieved her goal, naturally wouldn't go to Lu Tongjia's room to make trouble. She turned around and left. Old Master Hu was still waiting for her to finish the game. Su Peijian smiled and explained that she had been thinking for a long time. However, in this round, she made a stupid move and lost in the end. It didn't matter if she lost. She could win it back elsewhere. Hu Yifan was confused by her unusual excitement. After leaving the Hu mansion, he couldn't help but ask Su Peijian what was so happy about. "I found something interesting, so I'm very happy." Su Peijian looked at the road ahead and smiled. She wouldn't show those photos to Hu Yifan right now. She still needed to think about how to make the best use of those photos. She was in a hurry just now, but she didn't miss that the background of the photo was the backyard of the Hu mansion. She could even see the parrot behind the two of them. Anyone who could enter the Hu mansion must be related to the Hu family. If they weren't related to the Hu family, they could be relatives of the Hu family. No matter which one it was enough to make Su Peijian excited. Seamless heaven gown. Hu Yifan confirmed again that Su Peijian's behavior today was unusual. Su Peijian turned to look at him. She tilted her head to the side, and her face was full of smiles. "Nothing. I just found a way to make Grandpa Hu like me more." Hu Yifan's intuition told him that Su Peijian was lying. "No matter what you want to do in the Hu family, remember to tell me in advance. You should know that we are working together now." "Of course I won't forget." She wanted to find out who the man was through Hu Yifan. Naturally, they couldn't leave him out. However, there was no need to show him the photo of the man standing with Su Qingsang. She needed to think clearly about what to do. Su Peijian smiled like a fox, which made Hu Yifan narrow his eyes. He stopped the car in front of them and wrapped his arms around Su Peijian's waist. Disregarding everything else, he kissed her lips. Su Peijian only slightly furrowed her brows and quickly turned the tables. The moment he retreated, she straddled him. Why? Do you want to play something new today? Yes. Do you dare? There's nothing to be afraid of. If you dare, I naturally dare. She lowered her head and pressed her lips against Hu Yifan's in a good mood. Her eyes were full of ambition. That blatant and undisguised attitude made Hu Yifan angry. Regardless of everything else, he began to take off her clothes. Su Qingsang was awakened by someone's kiss. She couldn't stand the itchy feeling on her cheeks. She waved her hand unconsciously, but it was caught again. She couldn't move her hands, so she could only open her eyes. She found that Hu Jinyao's face was directly above her. Morning, honey. Hu Jinyao gave her a peck on the lips as he spoke. Su Qingsang blinked her eyes. What's wrong? The weather is good today. Hu Jinyao kissed her again. Honey, let's go out and play. Don't you have to work today? There were indeed many places in Rong City that she hadn't visited yet. However, Su Qingsang didn't expect that Hu Jinyao would be in the mood to go out with her today. She had surgery yesterday and the day before, so she took turns to rest today. It wasn't the weekend, was it? No need. I have time today to accompany you. He had to stay outside for some time. Otherwise, how could he give those people a chance? Su Qingsang nodded and looked at the time. Where to play? To tell you the truth, I'm playing. It's almost afternoon. I'm going somewhere in the morning. Where to? Tang Mohan's new department store needs someone to cut the ribbon. We're going to stand on the stage for him. Tang Mohan's main business was entertainment and department stores. Now he had opened many chain stores all over the country. He did a good job in the entertainment area. This department store happened to be the 100th chain store under Tang Mohan's company. He specially invited Hu Jinyao to celebrate with him and asked him to cut the ribbon. Su Qingsang knew that they had a good relationship, so she quickly tidied herself up. When she was putting on her clothes, she chose a new Chanel suit. She looked completely different from her usual style when she worked in the hospital. My wife is so beautiful today. Hu Jinyao looked at her with a face full of admiration. Su Qingsang glanced at him and swept her gaze over his body. He was wearing a dark three-piece suit and had a standard inverted triangle figure. His fine hair was combed neatly by him. He looked like a social elite. My husband is also very handsome today. Thank you. Hu Jinyao smiled and put his hand in front of Su Qingsang, signaling for her to hold his hand. Su Qingsang held his hand and glanced at him. The two of them smiled at each other and went out together. Tang Mohan's new department store was very big. It wasn't in the city, but in a location closer to the suburbs. Many new residential areas had just been developed here. In addition, there were 2 business districts nearby. This location was undoubtedly quite insightful. There was a lot of traffic, and the early publicity was in place. After the ribbon cutting, all kinds of activities began. It could be seen that there were a lot of people at the scene. Su Qingsang had never liked crowded places. After the two of them greeted Tang Mohan, they were about to leave. The department store had a total of 8 floors, and each floor operated different items. Hu Jinyao and Su Qingsang originally wanted to stroll around casually, but seeing so many people, the two of them gave up on this idea. They went to the elevator and planned to take a taxi to the underground parking lot. Unexpectedly, the elevator opened, and the person who came out was Xiang Kaiping. Su Qingsang was stunned when she saw Xiang Kaiping. She didn't expect that the two of them would meet under such circumstances. Xiang Kaiping was also stunned when she saw Su Qingsang. The two of them just stood there without moving. Xiang Kaiping wasn't the only one in the elevator. Someone behind her was about to come out. Seeing that she was standing there without moving, she couldn't help but urge her. Xiang Kaiping had no choice but to quickly get out of the elevator. The people behind her also squeezed out, and Xiang Kaiping was squeezed to Su Qingsang's side. Auntie, Su Qingsang greeted Xiang Kaiping. Her voice wasn't loud. In fact, She wasn't sure if Xiang Kaiping would still be willing to greet her now. Xiang Kaiping looked at Su Qingsang, then looked at her and Hu Jinyao's hand, then nodded gently as a response. This kind of attitude was already beyond Su Qingsang's expectations. With a smile on her face, she took a step forward. "Auntie, are you shopping here too?" Xiang Kaiping didn't say anything, and just nodded again. Su Peijian was getting busier and busier. In the past, she ate one of her 3 meals at home. Now almost none of her 3 meals were eaten at home. The company was managed well by her, and she received 2 new low-price sources of goods. If she criticized her too much, she would say that she was busy with work. In fact, after she took over, the business was indeed better than before. She could tell from the accounts that this daughter of hers was a capable person. However, the more capable her daughter was, the less time she spent with her. The less time they spent together, the more she couldn't help but think of Su Qingsang. Every time she thought of Su Qingsang, she began to regret and blame herself. How could she do this? Su Peijian was her daughter. In such a dilemma, Xiang Kaiping didn't want to stay at home anymore. During the day, she would come out and walk around when she had nothing to do. In fact, she knew that this department store had opened before. She didn't like crowds, but now she felt that the more people there were, the livelier it was. She didn't expect to meet Su Qingsang here. At this moment facing her, she looked a little uncomfortable. "Auntie, have you eaten?" It was almost time for dinner, so Su Qingsang asked out of politeness. Xiang Kaiping shook her head. Su Peijian was always not at home. It was boring for her to eat alone, so she just ate casually. Back in Lin City, even if Su Qingsang was not at home, there was still a cook at home who would chat with her every day. Now Xiang Kaiping shook her head. She hadn't eaten yet, and she didn't have the stomach to eat. Su Peijian didn't come back last night. She called, and she only said that she had something to do. She was her daughter, but she felt so far away from her. Xiang Kaiping didn't like this feeling, but now she couldn't even criticize Su Peijian. "Then why don't we eat together?" As Su Qingsang spoke, she glanced at Hu Jinyao. There was a hint of inquiry in her eyes, as well as some meaning that only they could understand. "Jinyao and I haven't eaten yet. Why don't we eat together?" Xiang Kaiping looked at Su Qingsang, then at Hu Jinyao. She tightened her grip on the strap of her bag, and finally nodded again. Su Qingsang and Hu Jinyao didn't take Xiang Kaiping further. On the top floor of the department store were all kinds of restaurants. The 3 of them chose one of the restaurants and entered. Su Qingsang sat down first, and after asking Hu Jinyao and Xiang Kaiping what they wanted to eat, she ordered. The waiter served tea and took away the menu. Only the 3 of them were left at the table. Hu Jinyao had a good impression of Xiang Kaiping, so the expression on his face was gentle. Su Qingsang looked at Xiang Kaiping, and found that she didn't look particularly good. There were faint dark shadows under her eyes, and she looked more haggard than before in Lin City. Chapter 566. It was a simple greeting, but it made Xiang Kaiping's eyes water, and the tip of her nose sour. Was it good? Not good at all. She wanted to acknowledge Su Peijian as her daughter. After that, she realized that her daughter was not who she thought she was. She thought of Su Qingsang more than once, and the more she thought about it, the more she hated Su Qinghui. It was all Su Qinghui's fault. If he hadn't switched the child, how could her child have been spoiled like this? How could she not be close to her mother at all? She didn't say anything, but her expression said it all. Su Qingsang felt a little suffocated. She couldn't help but glance at Hu Jinyao. Hu Jinyao shook his head gently at her. Su Qingsang didn't ask anymore. She picked up the teapot in front of her, and poured some tea for Xiang Kaiping. "Auntie, drink this. I remember you said that you like black tea." Xiang Kaiping felt her nose sour again. She lowered her head to hide her emotions. The time she spent with Su Qingsang was about the same as the time she and Su Peijian met. However, Su Peijian still didn't remember what she liked to eat or drink. Su Qingsang, on the other hand, still remembered her preferences after spending a few months together. The dishes she ordered just now were basically according to her preferences. It was not the time to lose her composure. Xiang Kaiping looked at Hu Jinyao and Su Qingsang sitting opposite her. "How have you been?" "I'm fine. The conversation between the two of them was so polite and distant. Su Qingsang felt a little uncomfortable. You know, Jinya has always been good to me. Xiang Kaiping glanced at Su Qingsang, then at Hu Jinyao, and finally nodded. Yes, you have always been good. Did Hu Jinyao need to care about how he treated Su Qingsang? Of course it was good. There was another silence, and no more words were said. Su Qingsang wanted to say something to Xiang Kaiping, but she realized that it was not appropriate to do so. The words of concern were stuck in her throat, and she couldn't ask. The atmosphere of the meal was a little depressing. Su Qingsang was actually very concerned about Xiang Kaiping. She wanted to ask how she was getting along with Su Peijian, but she knew that she couldn't. Su Qingsang poured a bowl of soup for Xiang Kaiping. Auntie, is your waist better? Her waist had been rehabilitated in Lin City. Although it had almost recovered at that time, she didn't know if she had gone to see a doctor after coming to Rong City. All right. Much better. Occasionally, it would hurt a little, but she could endure it. Hearing Su Qingsang's words of concern, Xiang Kaiping recalled how Su Qingsang had taken care of her when she was in the hospital. She knew very well that this was Su Qingsang. If it was Su Peijian, would she be able to take care of herself like Su Qingsang? Thinking of Su Peijian, Xiang Kaiping knew that she was asking for too much. That's good. Rong City was colder than Lin City. You need to take care of that waist of yours. You must be careful not to carry heavy objects, and don't overwork yourself. Halfway through her sentence, Su Qingsang realized that she had said too much. She pursed her lips and stopped talking. Xiang Kaiping's heart ached again. She had been in Rong City for a few months. His waist was almost healed, but when the weather changed, it was indeed a little uncomfortable. After all, the collision at that time had been too hard. She was old and couldn't be compared to young people. But in the past few months, except for a few questions from Su Peijian when she first came, she hadn't mentioned anything else. In the past, even when Li Qianxue stole her man, she had never been jealous of her. Now, she was really jealous of Li Qianxue. How could she have such a good daughter? She heard that her son was also an obedient child. Looking at Su Peijian, looking at the table full of dishes, Xiang Kaiping lost her appetite. After dinner, Su Qingsang glanced at Hu Jinyao and took the initiative to speak. Auntie, how did you get here? Why don't we drive you back? I'll take the bus back myself. She was old and had nothing to do anyway. Xiang Kaiping didn't want to trouble Su Qingsang. It's okay. We don't work today anyway. As Su Qingsang spoke, she took the initiative to walk to Xiang Kaiping's side. She didn't hold her hand, but kept half an arm's length away. Auntie, just let us drive you. Hu Jinyao also chimed in. Yes, Auntie, let's go. Xiang Kaiping couldn't argue with the two of them, so in the end, she got into Hu Jinyao's car. Su Qingsang sat with her in the back seat. The two used to be mother and daughter, but now they looked at each other speechlessly. The car stopped in front of Xiang Kaiping's small villa. Hu Jinyao looked at the environment in front of him. It was a nice place. The house should have been bought by Xiang Kaiping before. He didn't know that she had good taste. Auntie, you live here? Yes. Xiang Kaiping nodded. Do you want to come in and sit for a while? Next time. We still have something to do. Su Qingsang actually didn't want to meet Su Peijian and cause unnecessary misunderstandings. What she thought, Xiang Kaiping could also think of. She wanted to say that Su Peijian wouldn't be at home during the day, but she didn't say it. She got out of the car first. When she turned to leave, she looked back at Su Qingsang. Your number, did it change? No. Whether it's my phone or WeChat, I haven't changed. She was afraid that Xiang Kaiping would look for her, but she felt awkward. Su Qingsang added, Auntie, if you need anything, call me. Also, I work at the First City Hospital now. You can come and see me when you have time. The First City Hospital? Yes, the one in the Zhengdong district. Xiang Kaiping nodded and didn't say anything else. She waved her hand and left. Her footsteps were a little shaky. Su Qingsang looked at her and felt sad again. Before Hu Jinyao's car left the villa, Su Qingsang glanced at him. Auntie doesn't seem to be doing well. Of course, Hu Jinyao didn't say it. Su Peijian didn't seem to want to acknowledge Xiang Kaiping at all. Since she came to Rong City, she had been busy with her own things. Even if she had time, she would rather think of ways to deal with Su Qingsang than spend more time with her biological mother. Su Qingsang bit her lip and turned to look at the villa behind her, which was already out of sight. How about I come to visit Auntie next time? You can come if you want, but I don't agree. Why? You came to visit Auntie out of kindness. If Su Peijian didn't know, then forget it. If Su Peijian knew, what do you think she would think? She was already prejudiced and dissatisfied with Su Qingsang. Li Qianxue had already acknowledged Su Qingsang, and now she still wanted to snatch Xiang Kaiping? With Su Peijian's personality, she might do something crazy. Chapter 567. Su Qingsang had also thought about that. I can call Auntie and come when Su Peijian is not around. Hua Jinyao didn't think that fire could be wrapped up in paper. Not to mention that Su Peijian was here for Su Qingsang. If you really want to see her, call her and arrange to meet her outside. Su Qingsang stopped talking. She knew Hua Jinyao's concerns. However, he said, I'm just looking at Auntie. She doesn't seem to be doing well. Hua Jinyao was silent. No matter how bad their lives were, there was a limit to what they could do. Not to mention the fact that they couldn't help Su Peijian and Xiang Caiping's mother-daughter relationship. At this time, if he really wanted to do something for Xiang Caiping might not accept it. After all, after this interaction, they could roughly guess that Xiang Caiping was a very proud person. The fact that she didn't say a word for a long time was enough to explain the problem. She didn't want anyone to know that she didn't have a good relationship with Su Peijian. Actually, Auntie is really a very good person. Why can't Su Peijian accept her? Hua Jinyao couldn't answer that question. No matter how good Xiang Caiping was, Su Peijian couldn't accept another person as her mother because of Li Qianxue's 20 years of influence. She is different from you. Su Qingsang used to think that she didn't have a biological mother, so she naturally yearned for and was attached to her mother. However, Su Peijian already had a mother. She had been with her for more than 20 years, and she cared for her very much. Now that he had to acknowledge a woman who had appeared out of nowhere, it would be a wonder if she would accept it. Su Qingsang could also think of what Hua Jinyao could think of. Lowering her head, she felt a little disappointed. She was still thinking about Xiang Caiping even after she got out of the car. Hua Jinyao reached out to hold her hand, pulled her into his arms, and gently patted her back. All right. Don't think about it. There are some things that you can't change. I know, I just feel a little sad. If you're really worried, pick a time when Su Peijian isn't at home to visit her, and spend some time with her. All right. Su Qingsang thought so too. It would be impossible for Xiang Caiping to come to him on her own. It would be more appropriate for her to look for Xiang Caiping. Let's go. We're here to have fun today. Have fun. Su Qingsang nodded. Since they were out to have fun, it was time to relax and have fun. Hua Jinyao took her to a newly planned wetland park in Rome City. Every year, tens of thousands of migratory birds would rest here. The local area built a protected area. In winter, the migratory birds all flew to the south for the winter. Now that the season was getting warmer, many birds were flying back. It was not a problem for the wanderers to see it, but they were isolated outside the protective net. The outer edge of the net was the wetland park that they were going to visit today. The scenery was quite good. Occasionally, migratory birds from the reserve next door could be seen flying over. They were not afraid of people, and would even stop. However, if someone approached it, it would immediately fly away. It was the first time that Su Qingsang had seen these birds up close. His gaze was filled with curiosity. Is that a red-crowned crane? Yes. Hua Jinyao followed her gaze. Look, there's more over there. So beautiful. Su Qingsang's face was full of admiration. If she wasn't afraid of attracting those red-crowned cranes, she would have gone forward to take a closer look. Around the path of the wetland park, there was a small pavilion in front for people to rest. The pavilion was also a viewing pavilion. One could see the reserve in the distance, and most of the lake view of the wetland park. It wasn't a weekend, so there weren't many people. When Su Qingsang and Hua Jinyao walked forward, they saw that there were already people inside. It was a mother and daughter. The mother looked very young. She was holding her daughter's hand and patiently pointing out some birds outside to her daughter. While showing her daughter, she didn't forget to introduce them. What kind of bird was this? What habits did it have? What kind of bird was that? What did it look like? When Su Qingsang and Hua Jinyao entered the small pavilion, the mother was answering her daughter's questions. It could be seen that she had done a lot of homework before coming here. She could answer all the questions asked by her daughter. Su Qingsang stood there and didn't disturb the mother. Instead, she turned her head to look at Hua Jinyao. She wanted to tell him that they should continue walking and give this place to the mother and daughter. However, she didn't expect to find that Hua Jinyao's gaze had been on the mother. His eyes weren't looking at that person. It was as if he was looking at someone through the mother. Su Qingsang suddenly thought of that night, when Hua Jinyao called her mother. She lowered her head, and her eyes were inexplicably sore. Jinyao, look, this is a giraffe. Do you know that? Giraffes live in. Mom, giraffes have such long necks. Don't they get tired? Also, what do they do when they sleep? Jinyao, you're so cute. You can even think of such a question. Not bad. So smart. Let me tell you, giraffes are very tired, but they rarely lie down to sleep, because it's too dangerous. Lu Tongjia's voice overlapped with the mother in front of her. Hua Jinyao's face was a little gloomy. Feeling Su Qingsang's gaze on him, he smiled at her, pursed his lips and silently pulled Su Qingsang's hand to the other side. Su Qingsang's lips moved. She wanted to say something, but in the end, she didn't say a word. Hua Jinyao had told Hua Mingguang about what Lu Tongjia had done. During this period of time, the relationship between the mother and son had once again fallen to a freezing point. Su Qingsang looked at his chiseled side profile and thought of the look in his eyes just now. She felt a faint pain in her heart. She reached out and held Hua Jinyao's hand. Not wanting Hua Jinyao to think of Lu Tongjia again, she pretended to be relaxed and said, "That little girl just now was really cute, wasn't she?" Yes. He didn't see it, and he didn't even see what the mother looked like. He only thought of Lu Tongjia, and his mind even unconsciously recalled that childhood scene. In fact, before the accident, that kind of scene had happened many times in the Hua family, with the brothers. Lu Tongjia used to be a good mother. Hua Jinyao. Su Qingsang suddenly stopped and looked at him. Her eyes were a little eager. Why don't we have a child too? Hua Jinyao froze for a moment and turned to look at Su Qingsang. He didn't respond to her words. Really? I think I can also learn to be a good mother. Su Qingsang blinked, and her eyes were full of encouragement. I believe you will also be a good father. Hua Jinyao didn't speak. His lips were tightly pursed. He was obviously not interested in her proposal. Su Qingsang was a little depressed. She wanted to say a few more words, but Hua Jinyao had already taken her hand and walked forward. Hua Jinyao, let's talk about it later. Later? Did that mean it could be discussed? Su Qingsang actually didn't mean that they had to have a child now, but she was really willing to try what Li Qianxue said. Maybe the relationship between Hua Jinyao and Lu Tongjia would ease after having a child. Hua Jinyao didn't give her a chance to ask anymore. I think I saw a white swan just now. Let's go and take a look. He changed the topic, so Su Qingsang naturally couldn't continue. During the rest of the time, Hua Jinyao didn't even give her a chance to speak. It didn't matter. Maybe she could try to get Hua Jinyao to agree in other ways. Or rather, he had to agree. Su Qingsang thought that Hua Jinyao's attitude during the day had at least softened. So that night, she began to put it into practice. She changed into the pajamas that Hua Jinyao had bought for her and sprayed some perfume for the first time. Looking at herself in the mirror, which was completely different from usual, Su Qingsang began to feel embarrassed. She took a deep breath and gave herself an encouraging look in the mirror before walking out of the bathroom. Hua Jinyao took a shower first today. At the moment, he was lying on the bed reading a book. The faint fragrance in the air suddenly made him raise his head. The first thing he saw was the extremely sexy Su Qingsang, whose clothes barely covered her figure. He narrowed his eyes and watched her approach step by step. Aren't you tired? Wasn't she tired after playing outside for a whole day? Su Qingsang shook her head, lifted one foot, and half knelt on the bed. She touched Hua Jinyao's face with one hand. Hua Jinyao smelled the perfume on her body. He put the book in his hand aside and was about to take the initiative, but Su Qingseng didn't give him the chance. Su Qingseng believed that Hua Jinyao couldn't resist her move today. Although this move was old-fashioned, it worked on Hua Jinyao. As expected, Hua Jinyao couldn't wait for what she was going to do next. Slowly she sank into it. When she was lost, she thought that Hua Jinyao would do as she wished. However, she found that he didn't forget to get up and take precautions at such a time. Something flashed through Su Qingseng's mind so fast that she couldn't catch it. And then, Hua Jinyao didn't give her any more time to continue thinking about it. In the next few days, Su Qingseng tried all kinds of methods and changed into all kinds of pajamas. She even went online and bought some pajamas that she was too embarrassed to wear according to Hua Jinyao's preferences. However, she found that the final result was not satisfactory. No matter how passionate and addicted Hua Jinyao was, he wouldn't forget to take precautions at the last moment and not give her the slightest chance of getting pregnant. Even if she explicitly hinted, Hua Jinyao didn't move at all. At night, Su Qingseng rubbed the back of her waist. After taking a shower, she changed into her usual cotton pajamas and quickly lay down on the bed. Hua Jinyao turned over and got on the bed as usual, but stopped when he saw the cotton pajamas she was wearing. Not playing today? Who was playing? Su Qingseng pulled up the quilt to cover her body. Only a small face was left exposed outside. Her eyes stared straight at Hua Jinyao, and there was obvious dissatisfaction in them. He knew about it, didn't he? He knew about her plans, but he still looked at her like this. During this period of time, he was like, Su Qingseng turned her face away and decided to ignore Hua Jinyao today. Hua Jinyao looked at her angry little face and couldn't help but kiss her on the cheek. Are you angry? No. She had done it herself. What was there to be angry about? And she said she wasn't angry? Hua Jinyao turned over and lay down next to her. He reached out and pulled her waist into his arms. He lowered his head and gently kissed the top of her hair. You're not coming today. I'm not coming. Not just today. Tomorrow, the day after tomorrow. And the day after that, I'm never coming. Hua Jinyao couldn't help but laugh at her angry words. He couldn't help but kiss her cheek. Don't touch me. My back hurts. I'm sleepy. I want to sleep. Her physical strength wasn't as good as Hua Jinyao's. In order to have a child, she had really spent a lot of effort to accompany him. But in the end, the result was still not satisfactory. She wanted to cry, okay? Hua Jinyao's big hand was on her waist. Su Qingseng was really afraid. Really, don't come. I'm tired. As she spoke, she wanted to hide to the side, but the bed was only so big. How could she hide? Hua Jinyao didn't let go of his hand. Instead, he gently rubbed the back of her waist. His strength was moderate, and he rubbed on the spot. Su Qingseng's back pain was relieved a lot, and the expression on her face also relaxed a little. Wife. Hua Jinyao's strength didn't decrease, and he rubbed her more and more relaxed. Let's spend a few years alone, okay? Su Qingseng was stunned for a moment. She wanted to raise her head, but Hua Jinyao pressed her waist to stop her from moving. It had been a long time since she heard him talk about this. I don't want to lie to you. In fact, I'm really not ready yet. I don't know how to be a father. When he spoke, his chest trembled. Su Qingseng bit her lip. It was the first time she heard him mention the word father. She suddenly thought of something. What did Hua Mingguang do during the years when Lu Tongjia ignored him? As Hua Jinyao's father, he didn't bear the responsibility that a father should have. He didn't try to ease the relationship between Lu Tongjia and Hua Jinyao. If she seriously thought about it, Hua Mingguang was not a good father, was he? Hua Jinyao changed his hand and continued to rub her waist. Isn't it good for us to be like this now? Why should we let a child share our time and energy with each other? He was right, but Su Qingseng knew that it was just an excuse. She didn't raise her head again. She hugged Hua Jinyao and rubbed her face against his chest. Okay, we'll talk about it later. She didn't say anything more. If he didn't want to have children, then so be it. Since she had promised him time, she would wait slowly. One day, when he thought it through and was willing to have children, she would talk about it. Su Qingseng and Hua Jinyao had talked it out, so the special exercise they did every night was naturally reduced a lot. At least, Su Qingseng really couldn't do it, and she didn't have the confidence to do it every day. In fact, Su Qingseng had considered not only Lu Tongjia's position, but also Hu Jinyao's. As the eldest grandson of the Hu family, she was worried that he would have his responsibilities. But if he didn't think about it at all, then why should she worry? When she relaxed, Su Qingseng was able to enjoy the time they spent together. Naturally, their relationship would be better. As for the thing that caused Lu Tongjia and Hu Jinyao to fall out, Su Qingseng chose not to mention it. Chapter 568. Su Qingsang's car was parked outside the villa. She looked inside. During the day, the reflective glass made it impossible to see if there was anyone inside. She couldn't help but take out her phone and call Xiang Kaiping. 3 minutes later, Xiang Kaiping came out and opened the door for her. Su Qingseng stood at the door and handed the fruit and some supplements she had bought before she came to Xiang Kaiping. "Auntie, this is good for your waist. And this, our hospital's new waist physical therapy device. I've asked a few patients, and they say it's quite useful." Su Qingseng explained. Xiang Kaiping took it and nodded. She thanked Su Qingseng in a very low voice and let Su Qingseng into the house. The villa was very clean and cozy. It was very Xiang Kaiping style. Su Qingseng sat down and didn't worry too much. Xiang Kaiping said that Su Peijian would have gone to work at this time. She wouldn't come back until night. In fact, even if it was night, she might not come back. But Xiang Kaiping wouldn't tell Su Qingseng this. She got up and went to the kitchen to cut some fruit and poured a glass of juice. Su Qingseng looked at the glass of orange juice. Xiang Kaiping actually remembered. She felt a little sour at the tip of her nose. She just lowered her head to hide the emotion. "Auntie, you don't have to be so polite. Why don't you hire a nanny to help you do these things?" "I hired a nanny. She went out to buy groceries. I'm not too old to move. I'll do it myself if I can." Su Qingseng had always known that she couldn't stay idle, so she didn't talk about that topic. Instead, she took out the waist physical therapy device and taught her how to use it. It's very simple. The device wasn't cheap. There weren't many people in the hospital who could afford it. Su Qingseng hadn't used it herself. She only found out after asking her colleagues. This time, she explained it very clearly. Xiang Kaiping looked at Su Qingsang's side profile and felt a little sad. "You don't look very well. Have you been too tired recently?" In the end, he still said those words of concern. Su Qingseng had already explained the function of the physical therapy device and was packing up. She stopped because of Xiang Kaiping's words. "No, I'm not tired." Previously, the matter of wanting a child was a little too much. Indeed, he hadn't slept well. He had been catching up on his sleep for the past 2 days. Otherwise, the dark circles under her eyes would have been worse a few days ago. Hu Jinyao also knew that, so he didn't touch her these days. He only hugged her to sleep so that she could rest well. "I know you and Hu Jinyao are still young, but your body is your own. You should take care of yourself and not indulge yourself too much." Xiang Kaiping had lived with Su Qingseng, so she knew what had happened between Su Qingseng and Hu Jinyao. After saying that, he felt that he had said too much. These things were no longer something that she could manage. Su Qingseng was stunned and blushed, but at the same time, he felt the warmth of being cared for by his mother. "Auntie, you too." Su Qingseng gently held her hand. "No matter what, you have to take care of yourself. Remember to take these tonics. Also, make sure to use this physical therapy equipment." Xiang Kaiping looked at her hand and nodded gently. Su Qingseng didn't stay for dinner. She had hesitated for a while before deciding to visit Xiang Kaiping today. Before she left, the woman who helped Xiang Kaiping came back. Su Qingseng breathed a sigh of relief. It was good that someone was taking care of her. When she was about to leave, Su Qingseng couldn't help but say that to Xiang Kaiping. "Auntie, if there's nothing else, call me. I'll come to see you then." Su Qingseng and Xiang Kaiping both knew that the so-called nothing else referred to when Su Peijian was not at home. Xiang Kaiping looked at her and nodded vigorously. After that, Su Qingseng chose to visit Xiang Kaiping a few times when Su Peijian was not at home. She didn't know if it was because of the tonics she bought, or because she visited Xiang Kaiping. She could feel that Xiang Kaiping's complexion was much better. She was also using the physical therapy equipment. It was said that her back pain had been greatly relieved. There weren't many things that Su Qingsang could do, but these few things made her feel calm. She didn't tell anyone about visiting Xiang Kaiping, except for the first time to Hu Jinniao, especially Li Qianxue. Li Qianxue didn't know that she would visit Xiang Kaiping. She and Li Qianxue had video calls almost every day, and they talked about many things. However, there were two things that the mother and daughter had a tacit understanding not to mention. One was Su Peixian, and the other was Su Qinghui. Su Qingsang just wanted to be nice to Xiang Kaiping and make her feel better. Xiang Kaiping also knew that, so she had a tacit understanding not to mention Su Peixian or anyone else in the Su family in front of her when she visited. This was the tacit understanding between her and Xiang Kaiping. Every time Xiang Kaiping called her, it was after Su Peixian had gone out, so Su Peixian never knew that Su Qingsang had been there. The weather was getting hotter, and it was already early summer in Rong City. Su Peixian returned home that day and found that Xiang Kaiping was not in the living room. This was really a bit surprising. Usually at this time, she would be downstairs waiting for her to eat. Even if she knew that she would not come back, she would still wait there. Su Peixian was not used to not seeing her today. After thinking about it, she went upstairs to Xiang Kaiping's room to see what she was doing. Before she reached the door, she heard Xiang Kaiping talking to Ms. Zhao, the housekeeper hired by the family. She was going to go straight in, but she suddenly stopped. Sister Xiang, that Miss Su, will she come to see you in a few days? She just came a few days ago, and should be here in 2 days. What's the matter? I tried this physical therapy device of yours, and it really works. I want Miss Su to bring me one. I can give her money. When Ms. Zhao was young, she did not have good confinement, so she also had a problem with her back from time to time. The last time she came, she had a back pain again, so Xiang Kaiping asked her to try it. Today Ms. Zhao accidentally stretched her back when she was moving things, so Xiang Kaiping asked her to try the physical therapy device again. Okay. Why don't I call her and ask her to bring one over for you first? You can use it at home. Thank you in advance, Sister Xiang. Ms. Zhao's voice was filled with gratitude. To be honest, Miss Su is really a good person. Is she your sister's daughter? Xiang Kaiping was silent. She could not answer this question. Since she did not want to say, Ms. Zhao did not ask. I heard that she is a doctor? She is so young, but she is really capable. Yes. She is an obstetrician. In fact, Su Qingsang was very busy in the hospital. She had to go back to the Hua family to spend the weekends with old Master Hua. She had to build a relationship with Hu Jinniao. She could still find time to visit him. Speaking of which, it was really thoughtful of her. She is so capable. He was young and capable. She is also a good person. Look at the tonics on your table. They were all bought by Miss Su, right? Yes. Xiang Kaiping nodded. The table was full of tonics suitable for middle-aged and elderly people. They were all bought by Su Qingsang. She did not buy them randomly. She was a doctor, so she bought them after careful selection. Apart from anything else, Xiang Kaiping's sleep during this period of time was indeed much better. Miss Su is so nice. You can take her as your goddaughter next time. Ms. Zhao was in physical therapy, so she tried to find something to say. It's a pity that you don't have a son. Otherwise, you could marry her. She is married, Xiang Kaiping said lightly. Married at such a young age? I can't tell. Her husband is so lucky. Yes. Of course he was lucky to have a wife like her. He must be lucky to have a daughter like her. Su Peixian stood at the door with a sullen expression. She clenched the phone in her hand, her expression extremely gloomy. Without alerting the people inside, Su Peixian left quietly and returned to her room. She sat down on the bed in the room, still holding her phone in her hand. She had been very busy recently. 2 or 3 supermarkets were not enough for her ambition. She wanted more. She needed more, which meant that she needed more resources now. And Hui Yifan was her best resource now. After all, she had been carefully trained by Li Qianxue and Su Chenghui. Naturally, she had her own sharp side when it came to business. It was true that Hu Yifan and she worked together and used each other. But when they had a common goal, they would certainly work together. Hu Yifan was determined to prove himself. Under her instigation, under her encouragement, he secretly opened a company. The company was under her and Hu Yifan's name. It was now in the beginning stage. They needed orders. Su Peijian had just handed over the plan. But Hu Yifan was bold enough to take out an order from Tianyu Group. This was the first order of their new company. Su Peijian attached great importance to it, and so did Hu Yifan. The two of them had been extremely busy recently, so Su Peijian had neglected Xiang Kaiping. Not to mention coming back for dinner. Sometimes, she didn't even come back to sleep. Today, it was because Hu Yifan went to confirm the final details with the other party that she remembered to come back to see Xiang Kaiping. Unexpectedly, Xiang Kaiping didn't need her to see her at all. Someone was already rushing to be a filial daughter. Su Qingsang, I haven't thought about how to deal with you for your previous troubles. But you came to provoke me first. What? Not only did you snatch away the mother who raised me, but now you're not even letting go of the mother who gave birth to me. Su Peijian felt that she really couldn't take this lying down. Her disgust and hatred for Su Qingsang doubled at this moment. She stood up and paced back and forth in the room. She suddenly took out her phone and flipped through the photos of Su Qingsang and the wild man. In fact, she had seen the photos of the man and Su Qingsang hugging each other a few times over the past few days. It was just a faked photo. If there was anything, it was not solid evidence. If she wanted solid evidence, she was afraid that she would need more evidence. Su Peijian flipped through the photos again, and still felt that they were not suitable for direct use. After thinking about it, she sent the single photo of Zhang Yichen to Hu Yifan. Chapter 569. Su Peijian didn't expect things to become so interesting. The man named Zhang Yichen was Hu Yifan's uncle? That would be fun. Su Peijian flipped through the photos again. She didn't have a plan at first, but now she was starting to have a different idea. Hu Jingyao couldn't really suspect Su Qingsang, with just a few photos that were out of place. After all, Hu Jingyao was not stupid. He could see what she could see. She could also edit the photos and use high-end Photoshop software to make the two of them look like they were together. However, that kind of method was too low-end, and she would not do it. So, how could he make these two people really have a relationship? Xiang Kaiping looked at Su Peijian. It was rare that Su Peijian had been eating at home these past 2 days. She wanted to call Su Qingsang and ask her to send a physical therapy device to Ms. Zhao. Su Peijian, on the other hand, had been staying at home for the past few days. Mom, what's wrong with you? Why are you looking at me like that? Su Peijian gracefully drank the soup in front of her. Ms. Zhao's cooking skills were pretty good. Why are you free today? Not only am I free today, haven't I been staying at home with you these days? Su Peijian raised her eyebrows and looked confused. Mom, you don't like me staying at home with you? Yes. He just felt that it was a little abnormal and strange. Xiang Kaiping couldn't help but take another look at Su Peijian. She seemed to be in a good mood. As long as you like it, Mom. As Su Peijian spoke, she picked up some food for Xiang Kaiping. Mom, try this. Xiang Kaiping looked at the piece of fish in her bowl, then at Su Peijian. She was confused by Su Peijian's overjoyed attitude. His lips moved, wanting to say something, but in the end he swallowed it back. Oh right. Mom. I have a boyfriend. Boyfriend? Xiang Kaiping looked up at her. Where are you from? What does he do? How old are you? Xiang Kaiping couldn't help but feel nervous. When she met Su Qingsang, she was already married. She couldn't care less even if she wanted to. But Su Peijian, on top of her concern, was also worried. Mom, look at you. I'm talking about a boyfriend now, not marriage. When our relationship is more stable, I'll bring him to see you. Xiang Kaiping knew that Su Peijian always had her own ideas. Naturally, there was no need to say anything else. However, he was still worried. You just arrived in Rong City, so you don't know much about the people here. It's better to be cautious in everything. Mom, don't worry. I promise you'll be satisfied. Be it family background or anything else, there's nothing to pick on. The more she said that, the more worried Xiang Kaiping became. When it came to Su Peijian, she realized that she couldn't be too gentle or too heavy. She didn't know what to do. Hua Jinyao looked at the report in front of him and raised his head to look at Yang Wenchang's face. There was still a trace of uncertainty in his eyes. Is he crazy? Yang Wenchang couldn't answer Hua Jinyao's question. If Hua Jinyao hadn't asked him to keep an eye on Su Peijian, he wouldn't have found out. Hua Jinyao didn't know what expression to put on at this moment. Lu Tongjia had tried her best to hand over Tianyu Group to Hu Yifan, but he ran off to start a company at this time? Hua Jinyao and the others all had their own companies. Some were for fun, and some were given to them by their elders to train their abilities. Hua Jinyao had a few other companies. The scale of his companies couldn't be compared to Tianyu Group. The projects he ran were also completely different from Tianyu Group. The others were in the same situation. No one was like Hu Yifan, who wanted to snatch the orders from Tianyu Group. Hua Mingguang and Old Master Hua wouldn't allow such a thing to happen, let alone Hua Jinyao. They didn't stop the younger generation from developing their own businesses, and they also encouraged them to have their own ideas and insights. However, the premise was that they couldn't harm the interests of their families or Tianyu Group. President Hua, what do you think we should do? What should he do? Hua Jinyao narrowed his eyes and stared at the document in his hand. He suddenly looked up at Yang Wenchang with an obvious calculating look in his eyes. Don't do anything for the time being. Hua Jinyao thought for a moment and added, No. It's not that we don't do anything. There's still something we can do. Yang Wenchang looked at Hua Jinyao. At this moment, Hua Jinyao's eyes were full of calculation. After listening to Hua Jinyao's instructions, his eyes lit up. President Hua, that's a good idea. But when the time comes, I'm afraid that Vice President Hu Yifan will go crazy, right? Then let him go crazy. Hua Jinyao wouldn't sympathize with Hu Yifan. He understood that he wanted to make money and gain benefits, but there were some things that couldn't be crossed. And now, he was waiting to see Hu Yifan fail. Hua Jinyao was waiting for Hu Yifan to turn the tables, and Su Peijian was also waiting for an opportunity. After being with Hu Yifan, she gradually figured out the relationship between the people in the Hua family. Su Peijian, who was born in the Su family and had been carefully trained by Li Qianxue, was much more sensitive than Su Qingsang in this regard. She used the shortest time possible to figure out the relationship between Hua Yangxiu and Hua Yangyuan's families. She also found out a very interesting thing, which was that Hua Jinyao had a good relationship with his good uncle. She just didn't know what kind of expression Hua Jinyao would have when he found out that his good uncle actually coveted his wife, and even slept with his wife. Su Peijian didn't expect the opportunity to come so soon. What did you say? Su Peijian looked at Hu Yifan. The two of them had just gone crazy. She was very sticky, and was about to take a shower when she heard Hu Yifan's words. I said, Old Master wants you to go to the Hua family for the Dragon Boat Festival. Hu Yifan poured a glass of red wine from the bedside table, and took a sip. He looked at Su Peijian with a hint of playfulness in his eyes. Why? You don't want to go? Don't think that he didn't know how much Su Peijian wanted this opportunity. Of course I'll go. Su Peijian propped up her body, and turned to lie on his chest. There should be a lot of relatives coming to your family for the Dragon Boat Festival, right? Yes. My great-aunt and great-uncle's family will all come this time. Su Qingsang hadn't been in Rong City during the Lunar New Year. After she came, it was rare for them to get together. This time, Hua Yangxiu's husband Zhang Xinghua happened to be on vacation. He agreed to come and see his grandnephew's wife. Your great-aunt's family? Doesn't that mean your uncle will come too? Yes. Hua Yifan put the wine glass in his hand aside and looked at Su Peijian. I find that you seem to care a lot about my uncle. Why? Are you jealous? Su Peijian looked at Hua Yifan, and the smile on her face grew brighter. A little. I care about him because I've never had a soldier in my life before. Also, I find that your grandfather seems to like him very much. It had been more than a month since she found out about Su Qingsang and Zhang Yichen. She had done a lot of homework. Old Master Hua seemed to like this nephew very much, and Zhang Yichen respected Old Master Hua very much. As long as he was in Rong City, he would come to visit Old Master Hua. Yes, My uncle is young and promising. My grandfather likes him very much. Hui Yifan suddenly turned over and pressed Su Peijian under his body. Woman, I don't like it when you talk about other men in front of me. I'm not talking about other men. Su Peijian looked at Hui Yifan with a meaningful smile. I'm trying to please your grandfather for you. Really? Then I'll thank you in advance. Hui Jinyao liked her cleverness. He lowered his head and began to plunder again. It was the family dinner for the Dragon Boat Festival. Su Peijian and Hui Jinyao arrived early. However, some people arrived even earlier than them. Hui Yangyuan came with his eldest son and daughter-in-law. His youngest son was here, and his daughter-in-law was on a business trip. However, a few of his grandchildren also came along this time. His children were a few years younger than Hui Jinyao's. They were sitting in a circle together. Hui Yangxiu came with her son and daughter. Her eldest son, Zhang Liangzi, and her eldest daughter Zhang Hanlei. She didn't see Zhang Yichen. It was said that he had a mission yesterday and would be late. However, Zhang Hanlei's and Zhang Liangzi's children were both here. The two families sat together, and the living room was very lively. Other than them, Hu Mingmei's and Hu Mingyang's families were also here. Su Qingsang walked in and greeted the elders one by one. When she glanced at Hui Yang, she realized that one person seemed to be missing. Hui Yifan wasn't here yet. He didn't keep her waiting for long. Soon, Hui Yifan arrived with Su Peijian. Su Peijian gracefully greeted the elders. Before coming, Hui Yangyuan and his sister had heard that Su Peijian was coming, so they had prepared gifts for her. Su Peijian hadn't looked at Su Qingsang since she came in. Zhang Hanlei, on the other hand, seemed to have realized something and exclaimed, "What a coincidence! Both Jinyao's wife and Yifan's girlfriend have the surname Su? Not only that, but they're sisters." Hu Mingmei explained. Zhang Hanlei was a little surprised. However, there were many elders here today, so Hu Mingmei didn't make it too clear. She only said that they were sisters. She didn't mention anything about an illegitimate daughter. However, everyone present was smart. Last time when the Su family came, they didn't see Su Peijian. They were afraid that there was something fishy going on. For a moment, everyone's eyes fell on Su Peijian, as if they wanted to understand something. Su Peijian felt everyone's gazes, but she calmly walked to Su Qingsang's side and sat down next to her. Hui Jinyao was talking to Old Master Hua. Seeing Su Peijian's action, he almost got up and walked to Su Qingsang. At that moment, Hui Yifan sat next to him. "Brother, let Peijian catch up with her sister. We can talk about the company." Hui Jinyao saw Hui Yifan's expression, and then looked in Su Qingsang's direction. At that moment she gave him a look. Hui Jinyao was relieved. Su Qingsang wasn't someone who would let herself be taken advantage of. "Yeah, we're sisters. You can't tell, can you? Because I look like my grandmother, but my sister looks like my father." Su Qingsang looked at Su Peijian's hand on her arm and didn't pull it away. Instead, she glanced at Su Peijian. "My sister and I, because we don't look alike growing up, people always said that we were cousins, not real sisters." Su Peijian hooked Su Qingsang's hand and smiled brightly. "Actually, these people don't know that we're real sisters." "Sister, don't you think so?" "Yes. There were so many people here, including the relatives of the Hu family. Su Qingsang wouldn't have a conflict with Su Peijian. She grunted in response and tried to pull her hand out. However, Su Peijian held it so tightly that she couldn't break free. "Speaking of which, we've been close since we were young. My sister married my brother-in-law, and I couldn't bear to let her go. I didn't want to be separated from her at all. So she came to Rong City, and I followed." As she spoke, Su Peijian looked at Hui Yifan, her eyes full of gentleness. "I didn't expect my luck to be so good. I met Yifan. I didn't expect him and my brother-in-law to be brothers. It's all right now. We two sisters married two brothers. Speaking of which, it's really a good story. Sister, don't you think so?" Su Qingsang looked at Su Peijian's acting as if it was real, then looked at her arm that was hooked around her and nodded. "Yes, it's really a good story." When she said the word good, she deliberately raised her voice a little. It sounded very much like the dialect of Lin City. In the dialect of Lin City, the pronunciation of good and fake were the same. Others couldn't tell, but Su Peijian definitely knew what she was talking about. Of course Su Peijian understood, but she was sure that Su Qingseng wouldn't expose her. The smile on her face became brighter and brighter. Sister, when I think about marrying into the same family as you, I'm really happy. Yes, I'm very happy too. Su Qingseng said lightly, with a decent smile on her face, but her hand subtly pulled Su Peijian's hand away. Su Peijian didn't let her pull her hand away. Instead, she moved her face closer to Su Qingseng and said in a very soft voice, Su Qingseng, seeing me appear in front of you like this, and you can't get rid of me, does it make you feel very uncomfortable? Only they could hear her words. She still had a smile on her face. People who didn't know better would think that the two sisters were talking happily. Su Qingseng looked at the pride on her face, and the smile on her face was even more friendly than she looked. It's not uncomfortable. I'm actually quite happy. Su Qingseng mimicked her and spoke with a smile. Do you know why I'm very happy? After all, seeing the once high and mighty young lady of the Su family try so hard to make trouble for me. This matter in itself makes me very happy. What goes around comes around. Didn't you dislike me? Didn't you disdain to care about me? Then why did you appear like this now? Su Peijian almost couldn't hold the smile on her face. The two sisters were very close, and only Su Qingseng saw the flash of resentment in Su Peijian's eyes. Her expression didn't change, and she successfully pulled her hand out and placed it on Su Peijian's shoulder. It looked like the two sisters were whispering to each other. Su Qingseng, don't be too proud. Life is full of ups and downs. You can't always be proud. Su Peijian couldn't hold the smile on her face. Yes, I know that life is full of ups and downs, but no matter what, there is one thing that can't be changed. What? That is, you can never be the young lady of the Su family again. Li Qinshua's daughter is me. It wasn't that Su Qingseng didn't know how to hurt people, but she didn't care. And the premise of her disdain was that Su Peijian didn't provoke her. Su Peijian's face was ugly, and her body stiffened. She almost stood up, but Su Qingseng pressed her shoulder at the right time. The smile on her face became softer and softer. Sister, you should pay attention to your image. This is the Hua family, and you haven't officially married Hu Yifan yet. In other words, there were still variables in this matter. Hu Yifan might just be playing with her, and it was still uncertain whether she could marry into the Hua family in the end. But she was different. She was now the legitimate young lady of the Hua family. Su Peijian never knew that Su Qingseng had such a sharp tongue. The smile on her face became very awkward. If it weren't for the last bit of reason reminding her that she couldn't lose her temper in this situation. She couldn't be angry. If she really got angry or lost her temper, it would be exactly what Su Qingseng wanted. Thank you for reminding me, sister. Don't worry, we will definitely become sisters-in-law. Su Qingseng nodded and patted Su Peijian's shoulder. Okay, I'm looking forward to it. They faced each other and looked at each other. How could Su Peijian not understand the meaning in Su Qingseng's eyes? Looking forward to what? Looking forward to her not marrying. Su Peijian couldn't go on. She felt that she wouldn't be able to control herself, and wanted to slap Su Qingseng. She forced herself to calm down, then looked at Su Qingseng, and gave her a meaningful look. Then, she got up and sat down next to Hu Yifan. Hu Yifan could tell that something was wrong with Su Peijian's eyes. He raised his eyebrows silently. Old Master Hu didn't miss their little tricks. Hu Yifan saw it too, and was very sure of it. Su Qingseng didn't suffer any losses. Okay. No wonder she was his wife. Su Peijian's smile was a little stiff. However, it was only for a moment. It's nothing. Sister asked me when the wedding is going to be held. Whenever you want. I said, this matter still depends on Grandpa. Su Peijian glanced at Hu Yifan, then at Old Master Hua. If Grandpa doesn't object to me marrying into the Hua family, of course, I can do it anytime. Not at all. Old Master Hua smiled. During this period of time, he felt that Su Peijian was a good person, knowledgeable and insightful. Most importantly, she and Hu Yifan hit it off. Hua Jinyao was his grandson, but so was Hu Yifan. He was impartial, and hoped that both of his grandsons would be happy. While they were discussing the wedding, Hua Yangxiu heard it, and wanted to ask when the wedding would be held. Someone else came from the other end. Zhang Yichen. He was on a mission yesterday. After finishing his mission this morning, he rushed to Rong City as soon as possible. When he saw old Master Hua, he greeted him first, and then walked to Hua Yangxiu. Mom. Both of Hua Yangxiu's children were in the army. She cared about both of them. However, she loved her youngest son very much. Look at you. You seem to have lost weight again. No matter how many missions you are on, you have to pay attention to your meals. You always eat irregular meals. Your stomach will be bad in the future. Zhang Yichen didn't say anything. He was used to this kind of nagging every time they met. After greeting the other elders, it was the turn of the younger generation. When he greeted Su Qingsang, his eyes lingered on her face for a second. Not much, just a second. No one noticed that second, except for Su Peijian. She had been staring at Zhang Yichen since he entered the door. She understood him. She understood every expression on his face, and every look in his eyes. It was an extremely restrained and tolerant emotion. She even wanted to applaud this man. He was really tolerant. It was already shocking that he fell in love with his niece-in-law. She didn't expect him to be so restrained and tolerant. Except for that 1 second, he didn't look at Su Qingsang again. If Su Peijian hadn't been paying attention to him, if she hadn't known what he was thinking, she probably wouldn't have noticed it. What are you looking at? Hua Yifan noticed her line of sight, and followed her line of sight. Zhang Yichen had already walked to his father and sat down. He was in the same army as Zhang Xinghua, but they didn't see each other often. Because they were in different military regions, they could only see each other when they went home. However, both of them had their own things to do. Sometimes, they didn't even see each other once a month. Nothing. Su Peijian shook her head. Seeing Zhang Yichen, her heart, which had been hurt by Su Qingsang, finally calmed down a little. She looked at Zhang Yichen and then at Su Qingsang. Su Qingsang didn't notice. She didn't know what Zhang Yichen was thinking. She was glad that she didn't send the photo to Hu Jinniao. There were a lot of people, so the living room couldn't be quiet. The sound of people talking and talking to each other perfectly covered Zhang Yichen's thoughts. More importantly, he wouldn't allow his emotions to leak out in the slightest on such an occasion. Even so, Su Peijian, who had been paying attention to him, noticed the way Zhang Yichen looked at Su Qingsang. At that time, Su Qingsang seemed to be going to the bathroom. Zhang Yichen glanced at her. Although he quickly looked away, Su Peijian felt that it was getting more and more interesting. If a person kept suppressing his feelings, what would happen in the end? She was looking forward to it. Lu Tongjia noticed Zhang Yichen's gaze as well. She couldn't help but look at Su Qingsang. She found that Su Qingsang still had some dignity. She didn't openly flirt with Zhang Yichen, which made Lu Tongjia feel relieved. If the two of them were really that shameless, she wouldn't be able to tolerate it for even a minute. There were a lot of guests at the moment, so she didn't have time to argue with Su Qingsang. She could only slowly warn Su Qingsang about her image in the future. Almost all the important relatives had arrived today. Lu Tongjia didn't choose to have lunch at the Hua mansion. Instead, she chose to have lunch at the hotel where Old Master Li and the others had gone to. Chapter 570. Zhang Yichen's car was parked outside. He was about to walk to his car. Hua Jinyao's car happened to be heading out. He saw Zhang Yichen and greeted him. "Uncle, it's not far. It's not far anyway. Let's take my car. I need to talk to you about something." Zhang Yichen stood there without moving. Zhang Xinghua and the others had already gotten into their respective cars. He paused for a second and finally got into Hua Jinyao's car. Lu Tongjia had already gotten into Hua Mingguang's car and left. Behind them was Hua Yifan's car. Sitting in Hua Yifan's car, Su Peijian watched Zhang Yichen get into Hua Jinyao's car from afar. The smile on her face grew brighter. Hua Jinniao, you think you're smart and powerful, but you can't even tell that someone is coveting your wife? You're such an idiot. Forget it. I'll be nice and give you a reminder in case you continue being stupid. Su Qingsang sat in the front seat. Zhang Yichen naturally got into the car from behind. "How many days off do you have this time, uncle?" 3 days. His reply was concise and to the point, without a single extra word. Su Qingsang glanced at the rearview mirror. Somehow, she felt that Zhang Yichen was in a bad mood. She didn't want to explore Zhang Yichen's mind, so she turned around. She saw a mobile stall selling roasted sweet potatoes. Her eyes lit up immediately, but she quickly remembered that they were going to eat now. If she ate a roasted sweet potato, she wouldn't be able to eat later. There was a traffic light in front of them. Hua Jingyao stopped the car and saw Su Qingseng looking at the sweet potato stall at the intersection. Don't tell me you want to eat sweet potatoes again. Can't I? Su Qingseng glanced at him. They're delicious. We'll have dinner soon. If you eat a sweet potato now, how are you going to eat later? I know. I'm just looking. He said he was just looking, but the look in her eyes didn't mean that at all. Hua Jingyao felt helpless. He stopped the car at the intersection in front of them when the traffic light turned green. He got out of the car and quickly bought a sweet potato from the stall under Su Qingseng's smiling eyes. He got in the car and put it in Su Qingseng's hand. Here. Su Qingseng took the roasted sweet potato and smiled like a contented kitten. Thank you. Don't thank me. If you don't eat later, I won't let you touch this thing again. Hua Jingyao sounded like he was lecturing a child. Su Qingseng stuck her tongue out and made a face at Hua Jingyao. I'll eat half, and you can take care of the rest. Then I'll be able to eat. Hua Jingyao didn't want to talk to her anymore. He turned around and went to get the car. I can't. That would be such a waste. Hua Jingyao reached out his hand and rubbed Su Qingseng's cheek. All right, hurry up and eat. Leave the rest to me, okay? Jingyao, you're so nice. Su Qingseng leaned over and kissed him on the cheek. After the kiss, she realized that Zhang Yichen was still sitting in the back of the car. She blushed. He hurriedly backed away, his face full of discomfort. Hua Jingyao noticed it too, but he didn't take it to heart. To him, no matter how old Zhang Yichen was, he was still his elder. Looking at Su Qingseng, he felt a little helpless. You don't have to go that far, do you? You're so satisfied with a roasted sweet potato. Su Qingseng's reaction was to give him a look that said, you don't understand. This kind of pure happiness was something he would never understand. Out of politeness, Su Qingseng asked Zhang Yichen if he wanted some sweet potato. Zhang Yichen looked at her and shook his head expressionlessly. Su Qingseng felt so stupid. Did she think everyone was like her? Satisfied with a sweet potato? The sweet taste of the sweet potato made her forget her embarrassment. She only ate a small part of it, then stopped eating. Before getting out of the car, she held up the remaining half of the sweet potato and looked at Hua Jingyao. Jingyao. Hua Jingyao looked at her. Without reaching out his hand, he finished the sweet potato in a few bites. On the other side, Zhang Yichen got out of the car without saying anything to them. The car door slammed loudly. Su Qingseng's hand, which was holding the sweet potato, trembled. Seeing that Hua Jingyao was heading to the hotel, she couldn't help but look at him. Is Uncle angry? How can that be? Uncle doesn't get angry so easily. Hua Jingyao also saw Zhang Yichen's back. That strange feeling from before came again. In fact, he asked Zhang Yichen to get in his car today to test him. Zhang Yichen wasn't an emotional person, but thinking about it, it seemed that every time Su Qingseng was around, his emotions would be very abnormal. Hua Jingyao was suspicious. His eyes fell on Su Qingseng's face. She didn't seem to take Zhang Yichen's behavior to heart. He was more or less relieved. However, he couldn't help but want to test Zhang Yichen. There were a lot of people eating together. One table couldn't fit all of them. Two big tables were filled with people. The elders sat at one table, and the rest of the younger generation sat at the other. For some reason, when Su Qingseng and Hua Jingyao sat together, Zhang Yichen sat next to Hua Jingyao. Zhang Yichen and Hua Jingyao were good friends. When they sat together, no one would think too much. Sitting next to Su Qingseng was Su Peijian and Hua Yifan. Su Peijian had deliberately sat down a little later, just to sit with Su Qingseng. Hua Jingyao had to drive later, so he didn't drink. Su Qingseng didn't like drinking, so she politely declined. However, Su Peijian didn't want to let it go. She raised her glass and looked at Zhang Yichen. This is the first time I've met you, uncle. Let me propose a toast to you. Su Peijian raised her glass and proposed a toast to Zhang Yichen. In the past, Zhang Yichen wouldn't drink, but today for some reason he drank it. Su Peijian smiled. After drinking half of the wine in her glass, she glanced at Hu Yifan. Aren't you going to propose a toast to your uncle? Hu Yifan glanced at her. He didn't understand what she meant. Although Zhang Yichen wasn't as close to them as he was to Hu Jiniao, they had a good relationship. Uncle, let me propose a toast to you. With these two people taking the lead, Hu Manzi, Hu Yang, Hu Qinghan, and Hu Qingwan all came to propose a toast to Zhang Yichen. However, if Wei Sihai and Wei Siming's cousins came to propose a toast to Zhang Yichen, seriously speaking, this generation of people had a lot of opportunities to meet each other. However, Zhang Yichen showed up the least often. Every Chinese New Year, he was either on a mission or in the army. It was extremely rare for him to be able to attend a gathering with his entire family. Zhang Yichen used to have a lot of self-control. Today, maybe it was because of the Chinese New Year, or because he hadn't gotten together with this group of people for a long time. As soon as someone proposed a toast to him, he drank all the wine. Su Qingsang and Hu Jiniao had been lovey-dovey. Now, seeing the scene in front of her, she began to feel that something was wrong. She glanced at Hu Jiniao and signaled him to stop Zhang Yichen from drinking. After all, this group of people was one generation younger than Zhang Yichen. If he didn't want to drink, he could totally refuse. Hu Jiniao turned around and also noticed that something was wrong with Zhang Yichen. However, he didn't stop Zhang Yichen from drinking as Su Qingsang expected. Instead, he glanced at Su Qingsang and signaled her to pick up the glass in front of her. Neither he nor Su Qingsang had drunk any alcohol. Uncle Qingsang and I will drink tea instead of wine. Let's toast to you. Su Qingsang was stunned. She didn't understand why Hu Jiniao still wanted Zhang Yichen to drink. He had drunk quite a lot. Zhang Yichen picked up the glass and looked at Hu Jiniao and Su Qingsang. His eyes seemed to fall on Hu Jiniao, but the focus of his eyes was on Su Qingsang. As Hu Jiniao raised the glass, he drank all the wine in it. Su Qingsang gently pulled Hu Jiniao's sleeve, signaling him to stop toasting, and the others to stop trying to persuade him. Zhang Yichen quickly turned his eyes away and continued drinking. Hu Jiniao didn't try to persuade him anymore. Just now, Zhang Yichen looked like he was drunk. Her eyes were also looking at him. For a moment, he felt that he was thinking too much. Zhang Yichen's excessive drinking shocked the elders at the other table. Hu Yangxiu, Hu Yangyuan, an old master who told them to stop toasting. The group of young people settled down. Even so, Zhang Yichen was still drunk. Fortunately, he didn't drive here. Instead, he took Hu Jiniao's car. Hu Jiniao and Zhang Liangzi put Zhang Yichen in their car. Zhang Liangzi drove here. He wanted Zhang Hanlei to take care of Zhang Yichen, but Hu Jiniao said that they would be arriving at the Hu mansion soon, so Zhang Yichen could rest there. Su Peijian kept looking at Zhang Yichen with a smile on her face. That smile was so strange that Hu Yifan felt that something was wrong. My intuition tells me that you are trying to set someone up. Yes. Su Peijian didn't hide it. Why don't you guess who I want to set up? Hu Jiniao? Or Su Qingsang? Su Peijian shook her head with a smile and put her arms around Hu Yifan's neck. I really want something right now, but I don't know the person who sells it. But I believe you must have a way. What is it? Su Peijian moved closer to Hu Yifan, put her face close to his, and whispered 3 words in his ear. Hu Yifan looked at her, not quite understanding what she meant. What do you want? That's none of your business. If you can ask someone to bring it here when you get back to the Hu mansion, you'll know what I want to do. Hu Yifan looked at her deeply, then made a phone call. After hanging up, he looked at Su Peijian and said, Someone will bring the thing you want in 15 minutes. But I want to know, what do you want to do? Su Peijian didn't answer Hu Yifan's question immediately. She sat back in her seat and fastened her seat belt. By the way, I came to the Hu mansion a few times and observed them. I found that it's not that your aunt doesn't like Su Qingsang, but she doesn't like Hu Jiniao. May I ask why? If Lu Tongjia didn't like Su Qingsang, she should have told Hu Jiniao about their relationship when she found out that Su Qingsang might be related to Zhang Yichen. But he didn't do that. Instead, he kept the matter under wraps. This meant that there were 2 possibilities. The first possibility was that Lu Tongjia loved her child and wanted to protect him. She didn't want him to see the cruel reality. However, after observing Lu Tongjia's behavior, Su Peijian deduced the second possibility. Lu Tongjia didn't like Hu Jingyao at all. Therefore, she didn't care whether he was cheated on or not. Instead, she just wanted to watch a good show. Moreover, she thought that Lu Tongjia wanted to take this opportunity to slap Hu Jingyao in the face. She wanted him to know what would happen to him if he didn't listen to Lu Tongjia and marry the woman she wanted him to marry. Hu Yifeng glanced at her. He wasn't surprised by the inquisitive look in her eyes and the obvious desire to gossip. However, he didn't want to answer Su Peijian's question. I don't know. I only know that Auntie has been like this since a long time ago. He knew that he used to have a big cousin. He was a very nice person. He also knew that he used to have a little cousin. She was very cute. However, after his grandmother passed away that year, the existence of these two people became taboo and couldn't be mentioned again. It seemed that Hu Jingyao had been hated by Lu Tongjia since then. They weren't involved in the specifics at the time, and old Master Hu had ordered them to keep it a secret, so none of them dared to mention it, let alone figure it out. Su Peijian could tell from Hu Yifen's expression that he really didn't know. She did not feel discouraged. Perhaps this was another point that she could start with. There must be a special reason for a mother to hate her child so much. Well, if she were to add to the fire on that ground, that would be really interesting. Hu Jingyao settled Zhang Yichen in the guest room. Lu Tongjia had made the necessary arrangements a long time ago, when she found out that her relatives would be staying at the Hu mansion. Zhang Yichen's room was on the 3rd floor. After all, he had always been on good terms with Old Master Hu. Old Master Hu's room was on the 3rd floor. However, Hu Jingyao didn't know about Lu Tongjia's arrangement. He wanted to go back to his room, so he directly sent Zhang Yichen to the guest room on the 2nd floor next to his own. Su Qingsang was going back to her room to rest, but for that reason, she followed Hu Jingyao. She watched as Hu Jingyao walked Zhang Yichen back to his room and put him on the bed. He really seems to be very drunk. Should I ask someone to bring him a bowl of soup? Hu Jingyao didn't object. I'll call inside and ask Xia to bring it up. He turned to look at Su Qingsang. There was no worry or concern in her eyes. She looked as if a relative had come to visit her. He felt like he should be the host. You must be tired. Go back to your room and rest. I'm here. Su Qingsang didn't object. She didn't want to stay here, especially when she thought of how awkward she had been when she met Zhang Yichen several times. After she left, Hu Jingyao looked at Zhang Yichen's face, which was so red that it was almost purple. Was the look he gave Su Qingsang on purpose or not? After all, they had grown up together. Hu Jingyao didn't want to think too badly of Zhang Yichen. He waited for a while, but Xia didn't bring up the soup. He walked out of the room to ask Xia what was going on. There were many guests that day. Although Zhang Yichen was the one who drank the most, there were also people who drank a lot. The elders all drank a little. At that moment, Lu Tongjia was ordering people to bring them the soup. Hu Jingyao stood on the stairs and listened to Lu Tongjia's instructions. The soup would be delivered, so he didn't worry anymore. He turned and went upstairs to Zhang Yichen's room to wait. At that time, Su Peijian was helping in the kitchen. She had been here several times. Now that she was in the kitchen, Uncle Chung and Xia didn't dare to let Su Peijian do anything. Don't be nervous. I'm not here to make trouble. I'm here to help. There are many guests outside. You want to send refreshments and drinks? Now you're even bringing soup. Auntie saw me just now, so I volunteered to help. Lu Tongjia thought that Su Peijian wanted to show off, so she waved her hand and asked her to come to the kitchen. Su Peijian liked to show off, so she could do whatever she wanted. Did she really think that she could please old Master Hu like that? How naive. Xia and Jiang knew that Su Peijian came here often, so they didn't think much of it. Su Peijian stepped forward and pointed at one of the trays. This is the soup you prepared for the guests, right? Let me carry it. Xiao Jiang and Xiao Xia couldn't argue with Su Peijian, so they told her who the hangover soup was for. Xiao Jiang led Su Peijian upstairs. Su Peijian was only here to help, but this was Jiang's job. Then you lead the way. I'll carry it from behind. Su Peijian smiled warmly. Jiang let her guard down. They worked as maids in the Hua family. Their salary was higher than outside, and the work wasn't too tiring. The master was quite polite to them. However, there weren't many people who were as kind as Su Peijian. Jiang enjoyed it very much. She walked in front and quickened her pace. Su Peijian followed behind her, and delivered the guests who had drunk a little too much, and wanted to give them soup to sober them up. Now there was only one bowl left. Su Peijian followed Jiang into the guest room that Lu Tongjia had arranged for Zhang Yichen, but she didn't find him. Jiang thought for a moment. In the past, when Zhang Yichen came, he would stay next to Hu Jiniao. Could he be here this time? Maybe he's next to young master. There's only one bowl left. Miss Su, let me do it. Sure. Su Peijian handed the tray to Jiang with a smile. Uncle's bowl is the only one left, right? Yes, this is the only one left. Let me do it. Go and rest. Thank you for today. You're welcome. It's nothing. The most important thing is to share Auntie's and Grandpa Hua's worries. Jiang nodded. She understood Su Peijian's choice. Although Su Qingsang was going to marry Hu Yifan, Lu Tongjia and Old Master Hua were the ones who had more authority in this family. She carried the soup to Zhang Yichen's room next to Hu Jiniao's. Su Peijian wasn't in a hurry to leave. She walked very slowly toward the stairs. However, when she was halfway up the stairs, she turned around and walked toward Hu Jiniao's room. When she arrived at Zhang Yichen's room, Jiang had already gone in. She seemed to be able to see the sleeping figure on the bed. She knew that Zhang Yichen was dead drunk. The effect of the medicine wouldn't work immediately. Chapter 571. Zhang Yichen was indeed very drunk. His eyes were closed. The excessive alcohol, and the fact that he hadn't drunk like this for a long time put him in an extremely uncomfortable state. Hu Yangxiu had come up to see him. She was touched when she saw Hu Jiniao taking care of him. She was old and had flown to Rong City early that morning. Hu Jiniao told her to go back to her room and rest. He could take care of Zhang Yichen. Hu Jiniao didn't think much of it when Xia brought the soup over. He called Zhang Yichen's name in a low voice. Seeing that Zhang Yichen didn't respond, he helped him up and let him drink. Su Peijian just wanted to make sure that Zhang Yichen drank all the soup. She didn't need to care about what happened next. She saw Zhang Yichen drink the soup to dispel the hangover. Su Peijian had only heard about this kind of thing before, but she had never tried it herself. She wouldn't try it, so she didn't know how effective it was. When Xiao Xia came out after delivering the soup, Su Peijian was nowhere to be seen. The room was quiet. Hu Jiniao stood next to Zhang Yichen and looked at him. His slightly narrowed eyes were a little worried and a little curious. Did Zhang Yichen have a misunderstanding about Su Qingsang? Or, the person sleeping on the bed didn't respond. Hu Jiniao stared at him for a while and was about to leave. Zhang Yichen, who was lying on the bed, opened his eyes. Uncle, how are you? Zhang Yichen had drunk the wine. In his half-awake state, he felt that he saw Su Qingsang. The word uncle was very soft, but it sounded familiar. He had heard it somewhere before. He tried to open his eyes to see clearly, but the alcohol and the drug stimulated the deepest desire in his heart. Qingsang. Hu Jiniao was stunned by the two simple words. He stared at Zhang Yichen's face and spoke very softly. Uncle, what did you call me? His voice was too soft to be heard clearly. Zhang Yichen felt that the voice came from far away, but it also seemed to be very close. He was drugged. Although it wasn't an aphrodisiac, the one Su Peijian chose for him could arouse the deepest desire in his heart. He blinked, trying to see the person in front of him clearly, but he couldn't. Hu Jiniao took a step forward and stood by the bed. He stared at Zhang Yichen's face, his facial features becoming more and more profound. Uncle, who are you calling? Qingsang. Normally, no amount of alcohol would make Zhang Yichen lose his composure. But now, the desire in his heart had reached an uncontrollable level. He suddenly reached out and grabbed Hu Jiniao's wrist. His movement was so sudden that Hu Jiniao was caught off guard. She fell against Zhang Yichen's body. Zhang Yichen hugged Hu Jiniao tightly. With the help of the drug, he couldn't even tell that the person in front of him wasn't Su Qingsang. Qingsang. The emotions that he had been suppressing were now completely released under the effects of alcohol and drugs. Even so, Zhang Yichen still cared about their identities. He didn't say anything else to Su Qingsang. Hu Jingyao couldn't move. His speculation had become a reality. With great difficulty, he propped himself up and stared at Zhang Yichen, who was bewildered and confused. You like Qingsang? He couldn't like her. He couldn't like her. In the end, Zhang Yichen nodded. Yes. Qingsang, I like you. She was so special and so smart. He didn't feel it the first time they met, but he felt it again and again. In fact, he didn't spend much time with her. But because of that, he couldn't forget her. Qingsang, Qingsang, I like you. He hugged Hu Jingyao and whispered how much he missed him. But that was all. His strong willpower was in conflict with his inner feelings. Even if what he was seeing was just an illusion, he didn't want to and couldn't do more to Su Qingsang. The others didn't understand, but Hu Jingyao did. He restrained himself. Even when he was hugging him, he controlled his strength. He couldn't help but move away from his arms. He was strong, and Zhang Yichen was drunk at the moment, so he easily moved away from Zhang Yichen's arms. Sitting on the edge of the bed, he looked at Zhang Yichen, who was reaching for her again. He suddenly leaned forward. Uncle, I'm married. Have you forgotten? He didn't feel anger or hatred. He understood Su Qingsang's charm. Any man who spent time with Su Qingsang would find her good side. Zhang Yichen found it too. It was normal. Married? Zhang Yichen was confused. The Su Qingsang in front of him seemed more and more unreal. For a moment, he thought he was looking at Hu Jingyao. How could it be Hu Jingyao? He grabbed Su Qingsang's hand. He looked like he was in pain. I know you're married. I know. His voice was hoarse and incoherent, and he sounded like he was in deep pain. He knew that she was married, and her husband was his nephew. That was why he had been trying so hard to suppress it. Why? Why did he fall in love with his nephew's woman? Why? Why are you married? Why? Wasn't I the one who met you first? Zhang Yichen's voice was filled with pain. The greatest pain was not being able to get what one wanted. Qingsang. Qingsang. Hu Jingyao looked at Zhang Yichen's face, and Zhang Yichen looked back at him. The drug was starting to take effect. The hallucination in front of Zhang Yichen became more and more obvious. To his surprise, he saw Su Qingsang, staring at him with a gentle face. Qingsang, 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 if I were the one you met first, would you like me? He reached out and hugged her again. Tell me, would you like me too? Would you? He couldn't forget the first time they met. They stood in the corridor of the hospital. She raised her eyebrows and looked at him with a faint smile on her face. She was so smart. She could tell at a glance that the woman was there to blackmail him. He couldn't forget the time when he was discussing things with Crew Cut. He thought he had hidden well. However, Su Qingsang happened to bump into him. She was scared, but she pretended to be calm. She wouldn't beg for mercy. He hadn't seen her much, but he was amazed at the first sight. Fell in love with her the second, and fell in love with her the third. He still remembered how relaxed and happy she was when she was with Hu Jingyao. The more he remembered, the more he restrained himself. He knew it was impossible, so he tried his best to suppress it. But those thoughts kept rolling around in his mind in his dreams at night. He always suppressed himself during the day, but he couldn't help but think of Su Qingsang at night. The situation in front of him was different from the dream. The deepest desire in his heart was aroused. He thought that what he saw was an illusion. It was the figure in his dream. He couldn't help but ask the question he had wanted to ask the most. Qingsang, Qingsang, if I were the one you met first, would you like me? He stared at the Su Qingsang in front of him, insisting on an answer. Hu Jingyao knew that Zhang Yichen was drunk and not sober, but the truth came out of his mouth. The reason why he said that was because he already had such thoughts in his mind. Uncle. He heard his wife's name coming from another man's mouth over and over again. And this man was his uncle. Hu Jingyao wasn't in a good mood. His face was a little gloomy. Qingsang is married. He reminded him again that no matter what thoughts he had in his mind, he should throw them away and destroy them completely. Immersed in the illusion, Zhang Yichen didn't realize that it wasn't Su Qingsang who said that. He only heard Su Qingsang say that she was married. He suddenly hugged him again. I know you are married. Zhang Yichen's voice was filled with pain and bitterness. He hugged Su Qingsang tightly, unwilling to let go. I just regret that I wasn't the one who met you first. Even if I met you, Qingseng might not fall in love with you. Why? Zhang Yichen looked at the illusion in front of him. Why don't you love me? Last time, when I was about to kiss you, you blushed. It wasn't a real kiss. He was just trying to intimidate her by getting close to her. But Hu Jingyao didn't know that. He only heard that Zhang Yichen kissed Su Qingseng. Last time? When was the last time? Why didn't Su Qingseng mention it to him? Hu Jingyao was still recalling every time Su Qingseng mentioned Zhang Yichen in front of him, but Zhang Yichen started again. Since you blushed at that time, does it mean that if I had the chance you might fall in love with me too? The words reeked of alcohol, but he wasn't sure. All Zhang Yichen wanted was a little comfort in his dreams. However, he didn't know that the person in front of him wasn't Su Qingseng. Hu Jingyao couldn't listen to it anymore. He gritted his teeth. The moment Zhang Yichen tightened his arms, Hu Jingyao suddenly chopped at the back of his neck. Caught off guard, Zhang Yichen passed out just like that. Hu Jingyao moved away from his arms and patted his clothes. His body quickly took a big step back. Staring at Zhang Yichen's face, he pursed his lips and looked a little angry. Zhang Yichen was coveting his wife. Even though Zhang Yichen was his uncle, and they were close, Hu Jingyao couldn't stand it. Not only could he not stand it, but he was also very angry. He knew that Su Qingseng was his wife. But he still did it. Hu Jingyao's chest rose and fell violently. He stared at Zhang Yichen's face for a while, but he didn't want to stay there any longer. He turned around and went back to his room. Su Qingseng was resting in her room, with 2 or 3 thick professional books by her side. She was very focused on the books. Occasionally, she would pick up a pen and make notes. Before she could finish writing, Hu Jingyao suddenly hugged her. Su Qingseng was startled, and she almost dropped the pen in her hand. Jingyao. She felt that Hu Jingyao wasn't going to let go of her, so she had to put the book and pen aside. Inevitably, she had to move away from his arms for a while. But even for a while, Hu Jingyao quickly reached out and hugged her tightly again. Su Qingseng was stunned. Her body was pressed tightly in his arms, and she couldn't move. Jingyao. She called him a few times, but Hu Jingyao didn't let go of her. Su Qingseng couldn't help but ask, "What's wrong?" Hu Jingyao didn't let go. He thought of what Zhang Yichen had said. Why didn't I meet you first? What if Zhang Yichen had met Su Qingseng first? Would Su Qingseng fall in love with Zhang Yichen? Jingyao. He didn't move. Su Qingseng was even more confused. Where was Hu Jingyao just now? Weren't you taking care of my uncle? Hearing Su Qingseng mention Zhang Yichen, Hu Jingyao let go of her, stepped back, and looked at Su Qingseng's face. Do you care about him? Care. They were relatives. Shouldn't he show some concern? Isn't he your uncle? Yes, I know he's my uncle. Hu Jingyao nodded. If that person hadn't been Zhang Yichen, but someone else, he would have punched him. What was the saying on the internet? I treat you like a brother, but you want to sleep with my wife. Wasn't that the situation he was facing now? However, Zhang Yichen wasn't just his brother. He still remembered that after the kidnapping, he had nightmares and couldn't sleep well at night. At that time, old Master Hu couldn't help him, so he hired a psychiatrist for him. However, the psychiatrist couldn't save him, and he still had nightmares. It was Hu Yangxiu who suggested sending him to the army. At that time, Zhang Yichen was already in the army. Hu Jingyao followed him. They did exercises together, did morning exercises together, and did drills together. He was only a teenager at that time, but Zhang Yichen trained him like an adult. However, the effect was also very direct. He was very tired every day, extremely tired. As a result, he slept like a log at night. He didn't even have a dream, let alone a nightmare. Zhang Yichen was only a few years older than him. However, he told himself, a man's growth doesn't depend on what he has lost. It depends on what he has endured. He told himself that as a man, he shouldn't keep thinking about the past. No matter what, he had to move on. He knew that even without Zhang Yichen's encouragement, he could move on. However, because of Zhang Yichen's existence, he got rid of those nightmares earlier. Later, he had nightmares occasionally, but most of the time, those nightmares didn't bother him anymore. Obviously, there was something wrong with him. Su Qingsang looked at him sideways and couldn't help but ask her question. What's wrong? Did you have an argument with uncle? Hua Jinyao glanced at her. Her eyes were clear and calm, without any hint of flirtation. He was sure that Zhang Yichen's feelings must be one-sided. Su Qingsang's personality meant that she would never cheat in a marriage. It wasn't her personality, nor was it her style. However, what if the person she had met was Zhang Yichen? Would she still have made the same choice? Would she have fallen in love with Zhang Yichen? After all, even he couldn't deny that Zhang Yichen was outstanding. Honey. Yes. If you hadn't married me, would you have fallen in love with another man? Hua Jinyao couldn't ask the rest of the question when he met Su Qingsang's clear eyes. He shook his head and hugged her tightly again. I'm fine. I just feel a little tired. He must be crazy to doubt Su Qingsang because of a drunkard's words. Zhang Yichen was drunk. Whatever he said didn't count. More importantly, he trusted Su Qingsang. He didn't want to mention Zhang Yichen anymore. He didn't want Zhang Yichen to show his existence in front of Su Qingsang. He didn't answer her question, so Su Qingsang didn't ask anymore. Her attention was diverted. If you're tired, you can rest for a while. Su Qingsang glanced at the time. It was still early for dinner anyway. You rest. I'll read. Hua Jinyao shook his head, hugged her tightly, and lay on the bed with her. You sleep with me. He held her in his arms and didn't do anything else. He rested his chin on the top of her head. He had decided to trust Su Qingsang, but he couldn't help but think of what Zhang Yichen said. He said that he had kissed Su Qingsang. Hua Yifan watched Su Peijian walk into the room. She had a smile on her face. That smile was full of calculation. Who did you give the medicine to? Su Peijian had said that she would take full responsibility for this, so he didn't ask. You're not going to give it to Su Qingsang, are you? Hua Jinyao might kill you. Who said I was giving it to Su Qingsang? I gave it to someone else. Someone else? Where did that come from? Don't ask. Anyway, I believe that what I did today will be of great help to both of us. Did you give that medicine to Hua Jinyao? I told you not to ask. Why are you still asking? Su Peijian sat on his lap and put her arms around his neck. Don't worry. Naturally, I will use it on the right person. Hua Yifan pulled her waist to his side and pinched her chin with his other hand. You're smiling like a fox. I don't believe you didn't do anything. But in this mansion, who else can make you use it? Su Peijian lowered her head and gently bit his finger. She blinked and looked at him with a seductive look. I didn't plan to do anything to Su Qingsang and Hua Jinyao today. She was only planning to plant a seed of doubt. Zhang Yichen was drunk and drugged. He would definitely lose his composure. Looking at the photo and the look in his eyes, Su Qingsang could tell that he was trying to control himself. She wouldn't mind if she didn't have a chance to have sex with a man like that. Once he had the chance, the more he tried to control himself, the harder it would be to control himself. Once Zhang Yichen lost his composure, the seed of doubt would be planted in Hua Jinyao's heart. Hua Jinyao might not suspect Su Qingsang at the beginning, nor would he do anything to her at the beginning. But what if the seed grew bigger and bigger? What if the seed grew into a big tree, and Hua Jinyao saw it? Would he still be able to stay calm then? Su Peijian gently brushed her lips against Hua Yifan's finger, and turned her head to look at him. Don't worry, we're about to have a good show. Hua Yifan didn't like Su Peijian hiding everything from him. He gripped her chin and scanned her face with his sharp eyes. Woman, are you hiding something from me? Yes. Su Peijian didn't deny it at all. Everyone has secrets. I just don't want to tell you right now. Can't I? Hua Yifan narrowed his eyes and suddenly turned over, pressing Su Peijian under his body. Okay, but since you don't want to tell me your secret, I have to find out about it. Then I'll have to find out about your other secrets. Su Peijian smiled. She lifted her legs and hooked them around his waist. She cooperated with him. Lu Tongjiao was very busy today, as the hostess of the Hua family. She had too many things to deal with. She had to take care of all the guests and settle them down. She also had to talk to some of her cousins who rarely came. She sent them back to their rooms to rest. She was busy just now, and didn't have time to talk to Su Peijian. She wanted to show off in front of old Master Hua, so she let her be. When she was done, She suddenly thought of Su Peijian. Didn't that woman just say that she would help her? Where did she go? She called Xiao Xia and asked her. She sneered inwardly. She really had to give up on Su Peijian. She called her help by serving a hangover soup? Lu Tongjia really didn't like Su Peijian's opportunism. Not to mention working with Su Peijian. It was true that she didn't like Su Qingsang, but her mind was very clear. She waved her hand and asked Xiao Xia to get to work. She seemed to suddenly think of something. Xiao Jiang. Zhang Yichen, he seems to have drunk a lot. Did you send him some hangover soup? I did. I sent it with Miss Su. Young Master Hua is taking care of him in his room. Hua Jinyao was taking care of Zhang Yichen in his room. Lu Tongjia suddenly felt a little suffocated when she thought of the photos Xiao Jiang had taken. She waved her hand and asked Xiao Xia to leave. Everyone had been arranged. For those who didn't want to sleep, there were different functional rooms in the Hua family for them to move around. She looked upstairs and finally made a turn in the corridor, planning to go to Zhang Yichen's room. But she didn't expect that when she walked over, the guest room was empty. There was no one in it. She immediately called Xiao Xia and asked where Zhang Yichen was. Xiao Xia only said that young Master Hua was taking care of Zhang Yichen, but she didn't say which room he was in. Hearing Lu Tongjia's question, she thought she was worried about Hua Jinyao. She told Lu Tongjia that Zhang Yichen was in the room next to Hua Jinyao's. Lu Tongjia's face became more and more gloomy. She naturally wouldn't think that this was Hua Jinyao's habit. She thought that it must be Su Qingsang's idea. She put her husband in the room next to her own. That was enough. Hua Jinyao was still there. How could Su Qingsang be so shameless? She was angry. Without thinking, she went upstairs to Hua Jinyao's room. She almost had the urge to tell Hua Jinyao about Zhang Yichen and Su Qingsang's dirty things. However, when she walked to Zhang Yichen's room, before she could open the door, she saw Su Qingsang rush out of the room. Her clothes were a little messy. Her hair was also messy. When she saw Lu Tongjia, Su Qingsang was stunned for a moment. Then her face instantly turned red. Lu Tongjia's expression changed when she saw Su Qingsang's guilty look. She took a step forward and stared at Su Qingsang's face. She still remembered what Xiao Xia said. Hua Jinyao was taking care of Zhang Yichen in the room. Was that Hua Jinyao in the room? But what was Zhang Yichen doing? Wasn't Zhang Yichen in the room too? Auntie. Su Qingsang nodded and was about to go to her room next door. However, Lu Tongjia blocked her way. She glanced into the room. What was going on? Where is Hua Jinyao? Where is he? He's in the room, Su Qingsang said quickly. She walked around Lu Tongjia and was about to leave. Chapter 572. Su Qingsang's attitude made Lu Tongjia even more certain that there was something wrong with Su Qingsang. Su Qingsang, you? Before she could finish her sentence, she saw Zhang Yichen, who was also disheveled, open the door. When he saw Su Qingsang, he held her in his arms. Su Qingsang's whole body froze. She was being held by another man in front of her mother-in-law. And this man was Hua Jinyao's uncle? It couldn't get any more embarrassing. She struggled, trying to get Zhang Yichen to let go of her. However, Zhang Yichen was so strong that she didn't have a chance. Lu Tongjia's face turned green when she saw what was happening. You, what are you doing? You. Auntie, it's not what you think. Su Qingsang was so embarrassed. She didn't understand how things had turned out like this. Hua Jinyao said he was going to sleep, and he really fell asleep with her in his arms. The problem was that she didn't want to sleep today. Not only did she not want to sleep, but she was also very energetic. After Hua Jinyao fell asleep, she picked up her professional book and continued reading. However, her phone rang after a short while. It was Shi Mengwan. Su Qingsang didn't think much about it, because she didn't want to wake Hua Jinyao up. She walked out of the room with her phone and stood at the end of the corridor. It was the study, and there was no one there. It was a good place for her to talk to Shi Mengwan. She could feel that Shi Mengwan was in a bad mood. In fact, Shi Mengwan was in a bad mood. She had gone to France to participate in the local design competition. After the preliminary round, she had participated in the semifinals. She had the greatest hope of making it to the finals. Even if Shi Mengwan couldn't win a place in the final, It was an affirmation of her ability to participate in the competition. Shi Mengwan was still very young. She was already very happy that she had made it this far. However, extreme joy turned to sorrow. She didn't expect that she would be successful in her career, but frustrated in her love life. Ever since she accidentally got involved with Zhang Haoze, she knew that Chen Feifei was with Zhang Haoze. She tried her best to resist. She didn't want to be a mistress. However, she couldn't escape the desire in her heart, nor could she escape the desire to make Zhang Haoze think of her. Coincidentally, she had a relationship with Zhang Haoze. She hadn't figured out where to go with this relationship. She wanted to take the opportunity of going to France to think about it. However, she didn't expect that when she went to France, she would see the news of Zhang Haoze and Chen Feifei's engagement in the local media in Lin City. At that moment, she almost wanted to abandon the French competition and fly back home. She wanted to ask Zhang Haoze personally, why was he doing this to her? She wanted to ask him, if the person he wanted to marry was Chen Feifei, then what was she? If he was just playing with her, why wouldn't he let her go? But in the end, he couldn't bring himself to ask those questions, because she couldn't contact him at all. At first, he just didn't pick up her calls. Later, his phone was turned off. Shi Mengwan lowered her head. She couldn't tell what she was feeling, but she felt uncomfortable. He had no one to talk to about this kind of discomfort, let alone to his own family. After thinking about it for a long time, she could only call Su Qingsang to confide in her, even though she hadn't slept all night. Su Qingsang picked up Shi Mengwan's call and sensed something unusual in her tone. She took the phone to the study to answer the call. Shi Mengwan was about to say something, but she couldn't say it. Even if it was her best friend, she couldn't say that she had become someone else's mistress. Moreover, she had been willing to be a mistress from the beginning. Seriously speaking, what right did she have to criticize Zhang Haoze? Shi Mengwan didn't know where to tell Su Qingsang what was on her mind. She only told Su Qingsang some happy things in France. Su Qingsang sensed that something was wrong. She asked again and again, but Shi Mengwan only said that she was too tired from the competition. She didn't mention a word about Zhang Haoze. Su Qingsang couldn't find out the reason, so she could only give up. She hung up and was about to go back when Su Yusin called her again. Today was the Dragon Boat Festival, so she couldn't go back to Lin City for the festival. Su Yusin and Li Qinxue both missed her very much. She hadn't reached her room yet. Because she answered the phone, she stopped for a moment. She didn't know that Zhang Yichen was drugged and was sleeping in the room next door. Hua Jingyao was angry just now, so he left in a hurry and didn't close the door. Su Qingsang's voice wasn't loud, but who was Zhang Yichen? He was a soldier, so his hearing was quite good. More importantly, he was drugged. Anyone's voice sounded like Su Qingsang's voice to him. Previously, Hua Jingyao's knife-hand strike had knocked him out for just a moment. His well-trained body made him wake up in the shortest time possible. Although he was awake, he wasn't completely awake. Alcohol and drugs, plus Hua Jingyao's chop just now. He was more and more immersed in his own hallucination. At that moment, he heard Su Qingsang's voice. He stood up and walked out of the door, wanting to hear more clearly. The door opened. Su Qingsang was standing at the door, talking on the phone. As soon as she hung up the phone with Su Yusin, Zhang Yichen put his arms around her waist. Su Qingsang was caught off guard by someone hugging her from behind. She was startled. She was already at the door of the room. At first, she thought it was a prank by Hua Jingyao. Jingyao, what are you doing? They were in the hallway. Before she could finish, Hua Jingyao had already put his arms around her waist and brought her back to the room. Su Qingsang realized something was wrong almost as soon as she entered the room. The person behind her wasn't Hua Jingyao. If it wasn't Hua Jingyao, then who was it? She struggled, but her body was held down by Zhang Yichen. He mumbled something, but Su Qingsang didn't hear it clearly. In fact, Zhang Yichen was calling her name, but Su Qingsang didn't hear it clearly. She only heard Zhang Yichen's voice. She didn't need to hear to know that this room belonged to Zhang Yichen. He was drunk. That was Su Qingsang's first reaction. After realizing that, she forced herself to calm down. Uncle, you're drunk. Let me go. Zhang Yichen held her tightly. The hallucination in front of him became real. He turned her body around. Suddenly, Su Qingsang made eye contact with Zhang Yichen. She was startled by him. What a pair of red eyes. They were very red. Asterisk uncle? Asterisk Zhang Yichen's breath reeked of alcohol. Su Qingsang turned her face away uncomfortably. She didn't think too much about it. She just thought that Zhang Yichen was drunk. Zhang Yichen stared at the hallucination in front of him. His mind was blank and confused. His reason and his desire were fighting in his heart. The fragrance of the person in his arms was so real. It was so real that he almost thought that it wasn't an illusion. But even if it was an illusion, he didn't want to, because it was an offense. Zhang Yichen fought with himself. In the end, he could only hold the person in his arms tightly. He thought that it was an illusion, but it didn't work. Instead, the smell made him more and more tempted. Su Qingsang. Those two words flashed through his mind again. He couldn't say it out loud. He could only murmur it to himself. Su Qingsang couldn't hear it clearly. She didn't want to hear it clearly. Uncle, let me go. Zhang Yichen lowered his head, wanting to take a deep breath of her scent. Su Qingsang was startled. Without any hesitation, she raised her foot and kicked Zhang Yichen's calf. If it were any other time, she wouldn't have been able to do that. But today, Zhang Yichen was drugged. He was obviously out of his mind. He had also tried his best to protect her, which allowed Su Qingsang to escape from his arms. Su Qingsang had been hugged and pressed against by Zhang Yichen. Her hair was messy, and her clothes weren't as tidy as before. However, she didn't expect to run into Lu Tongjia as soon as she went out. The situation made her feel so embarrassed that she wanted to die. She didn't have time to explain to Lu Tongjia. Zhang Yichen, who was behind her, rushed out and hugged her again. Lu Tongjia's face turned completely green. She pointed at the two of them, her face livid. Lu Tongjia glared at Su Qingsang. She wanted to burn a hole in Su Qingsang's body with her eyes. What are you doing? Lu Tongjia's face darkened. If her eyes were solid, Su Qingsang would have been crushed into powder. Auntie, it's not what you think. Uncle is drunk. Drunk. Lu Tongjia was so angry that she laughed. What a shameless couple. You've done such a shameless thing. And you're trying to cover it up? What? Do you think everyone else is stupid? His words were a little harsh, but Su Qingsang couldn't care less now. She struggled, trying to make Zhang Yichen let go of her. However, Zhang Yichen's strength wasn't something she could fight back against. Lu Tongjia's whole body trembled. She pointed at Su Qingsang, feeling very angry. How dare you? This was really going against the heavens. How can you be so shameless? Don't you have any shame? Su Qingsang, don't forget who you are. Of course, Su Qingsang wouldn't forget who she was. She also felt embarrassed, but she didn't want the situation to be like this. Auntie, please do me a favor. It's really not what you think. Uncle is drunk. Hua Jingyao walked out of the room as soon as she finished speaking. He had been sleeping, but was woken up by the sudden noise. Hearing Lu Tongjia's suppressed voice, he walked out. He didn't expect to see the scene in front of him. Jingyao. Su Qingsang's face was full of surprise when she saw him. You're here. Come and help me pull Uncle away. He's drunk. Hua Jingyao glanced at Su Qingsang, then looked at Zhang Yichen, who was holding her tightly. Drunk? Ha! Was he drunk? Or was he pretending to be drunk to take advantage of her? Thinking of how Zhang Yichen had mistaken him for Su Qingsang, he couldn't help but feel angry. He took a few steps forward and pulled Su Qingsang away from Zhang Yichen's arms. Without hesitation, he punched Zhang Yichen's cheek. Zhang Yichen didn't wake up after being punched. He stood there and looked at Hua Jingyao, who was in front of him. Without thinking, he hugged him. Hua Jingyao was angry. He raised his hand and punched him again. Zhang Yichen took 2 punches in a row, but he didn't wake up. Instead, he walked towards Hua Jingyao. Su Qingsang had just escaped from Zhang Yichen's hands. She was still in shock. Meeting Lu Tongjia's eyes, she wanted to explain, but she knew that Lu Tongjia had already made up her mind. Lu Tongjia could see it with her own eyes, so Lu Tongjia wouldn't listen to her. She didn't want to explain to Lu Tongjia. As long as Hua Jingyao believed her, that was enough. She didn't know how Zhang Yichen became like this. She turned to look at Zhang Yichen. He was drunk, probably because he was drunk. However, when she saw Zhang Yichen stubbornly holding on to Hu Jinniao after Hu Jinniao punched him a few times, she began to feel that something was wrong. She was a doctor, even though she majored in obstetrics and gynecology. However, Zhang Yichen didn't look like he was drunk. Seeing that his face was red, and he still wanted to hold on to Hu Jinniao, she suddenly stepped forward. Jinniao, wait. Stop hitting him. She was pleading for Zhang Yichen. Hu Jinniao's face darkened. He almost wanted to punch Zhang Yichen a few more times. Jinniao. There's something wrong with your uncle. She stepped forward and grabbed Hu Jinniao. See if you can restrain him. I'll check on him. Hu Jinniao looked at Su Qingsang. Her face was serious, and she didn't look like she was joking. He looked at Zhang Yichen. He seemed to realize that something was wrong with Zhang Yichen. He stepped forward and knocked Zhang Yichen out with a karate chop. Zhang Yichen was hit a few times, and this time, he passed out completely. Hu Jinniao caught Zhang Yichen's body and put him back in the room. Su Qingsang followed him in and opened Zhang Yichen's eyes immediately. His pupils were dilated unnaturally, and he seemed to be on a rampage. Maybe it was because of the alcohol. But she also knew that there could be another reason. She had seen a pregnant woman before. That woman was pregnant, but she didn't know that she was pregnant. Someone gave her a drink, and she drank it. Later, she found out that the drink had been spiked with hallucinogens. Hallucinogens, ecstasy pills, and other drugs could sometimes cause a reaction similar to that caused by alcohol. Inexperienced doctors wouldn't be able to tell. I suspect that he drank something he shouldn't have. Su Qingsang had only suspected it, but now she could basically confirm it. She looked up at Hu Jinniao and said, Jinniao, I need a doctor in this field. I want to take a blood test for him. Hu Jinniao looked at Su Qingsang and thought of Zhang Yichen's usual behavior. He had always been calm and rational, almost to the point of restraint. Today was indeed a little strange. He nodded and called the doctor. There were so many guests in the Hu family, so it wasn't a good time to send Zhang Yichen to the hospital. Lu Tongjia came in as well. She looked at the two people in front of her and sneered. Su Qingsang, don't try to confuse us. It's obvious that you two are in cahoots. You're talking nonsense to cover your tracks. I'm telling you it's useless. Su Qingsang glanced at Lu Tongjia and didn't pay much attention to her. She looked at Hu Jinniao with expectation. As long as he believed in her, that was enough. She didn't need the whole world to agree with her. Hu Jinniao stepped forward and held her hand. He looked at Zhang Yichen, who was lying on the bed. He started to have the same worries as Su Qingsang. Su Qingsang tightened her grip on his hand. Although she looked calm, she was still afraid that Hu Jinniao would misunderstand her. I believe in you. Hu Jinniao's simple words sounded powerful and resonant. Su Qingsang smiled and held Hu Jinniao's hand with both hands. The scene in front of her eyes was so dazzling. Lu Tongjia almost couldn't stand it anymore. Good, very good indeed. I know that I have a loving son, but I didn't expect you to be so loving. She looked back and forth between Hu Jinniao and Su Qingsang, then finally looked at Hu Jinniao. Hu Jinniao, you're a grown man and married. Can you not be so naive? This woman has no feelings for you at all. To put it bluntly, she's just using you. She can hook up with Zhang Yichen behind your back today. Tomorrow, she can hook up with another man behind your back. Things are so clear now. It's completely in front of you. You still don't believe me? What? Do you want to wait until the day you catch her in bed with your own eyes to believe it? Su Qingsang's lips moved, and she was about to retort because her words were really unpleasant to the ear. Hu Jinniao squeezed her hand. He turned to face Lu Tongjia, his eyes deep and firm. Mom, you don't have to say that. I believe Qingsang. I believe in her character. I also believe in Uncle's character. They won't do what you said. Good, good, good. It's really good. So I'm the bad guy now, am I? I didn't mean that. What I mean is, everything can wait for the doctor to come and examine Uncle first before we talk about it. Check. What can you guys find out? He just drank a little. People say that wine tells the truth. Pretending to be crazy under the influence of alcohol. But isn't that what he really thinks? The two of them are already flirting and cuddling right in front of you right now. Then, when you are not around, Have you ever thought that there will be more disgusting scenes when you are not around? Mom, Auntie, Su Qing sang, and Hua Jinyao couldn't listen to it anymore. They looked at Lu Tongjia together, and their expressions were equally ugly. The difference was that Hua Jinyao looked indignant, while Su Qing sang looked anxious. No matter how much she didn't care about Lu Tongjia's attitude, she couldn't let her continue after what she said today. What? Do you think I said it badly? Hua Jinyao, if you're really a man, you should divorce her. Let me tell you, a woman can be incompetent and not beautiful, but at the very least, she must be loyal to her husband. Did she? Mom, don't talk nonsense. Qing Sang isn't that kind of person. Auntie, I know you don't like me, but please be kind with your words. Be kind with my words? Su Qing sang. What right do you have to ask me to be kind with my words? What's wrong? You dare to do it, but don't dare to admit it, right? You can do it, but you're afraid of others saying it? Auntie, I think I'm innocent. I didn't do what you said. Mom, I'm also willing to believe in Qing Sang's innocence. She's not that kind of woman. Lu Tongjia was angered by their gazes and nodded with hatred. Okay. You and your wife are united, but I seem to be meddlesome. Hua Jinyao, I'll wait and see you regret it. After saying this, she didn't look at Hua Jinyao at all. She glared at Su Qing sang, then turned around, and went back to her room with a dissatisfied look. After she left, Su Qing sang's shoulders unconsciously slumped a little. She looked at Hua Jinyao with a little hesitation in her beautiful eyes. Jinyao, it's okay. It has nothing to do with you. Hua Jinyao held her in his arms and sighed softly. My mom is here for me. Don't worry. I understand, but I still want to say that there's nothing between uncle and me. There's nothing between us. I know. I believe you. This was the second time Hua Jinyao said that he believed her. Su Qing sang couldn't help but reach out to hug him. Her eyes were gentle, and her expression was full of satisfaction. Thank you, Jinyao. It felt so good to be trusted so much. Hua Jinyao hugged her. What he didn't say was that he did believe Su Qing sang. As for Zhang Yichen, he didn't want to know whether it was because he was drunk or because of something else that made him lose his composure. When Lu Tongjia returned to her room, she felt a headache. She didn't look well. She was so angry that her whole body was trembling. Hua Mingguang wasn't in the room. He was in his study with Hua Yangyuan's two sons. Hua Yangyuan's two sons, Hua Mingfan and Hua Mingqi, worked in different areas. Tianyu Group had invested in both areas. They were usually busy with work and rarely met each other. Now that they were together, Hua Mingguang naturally wanted to have a good chat with his two cousins. Lu Tongjia didn't have anyone to talk her out of it. She just couldn't take it anymore. She hadn't even thought of showing Hua Jinyao those ugly photos she had taken, but he was already taking her side without asking. Even though he saw Su Qing sang and Zhang Yichen hugging each other with his own eyes, how could he find an excuse for Zhang Yichen? It was ridiculous and infuriating. She hadn't calmed down yet. She was still thinking about how to make Hua Jinyao face reality. On the other side, Hua Jinyao got the result after the doctor came and took Zhang Yichen's blood for a blood test. Zhang Yichen was indeed drugged. Su Qing sang looked at the result and nodded. She looked serious when she met Hua Jinyao's eyes. Jinyao, it's just as I thought. Uncle was drugged. It seems to be a hallucinogen. That would explain why Zhang Yichen was reacting like this. Hua Jinyao looked at Su Qing sang. She looked calm. She attributed all of Zhang Yichen's behavior to the fact that he was drugged and drunk. However, he knew that wasn't the whole truth. There was nothing wrong with Su Qing sang, but there must be something wrong with Zhang Yichen. The drug and alcohol only made Zhang Yichen's true thoughts come to life. It didn't mean that it didn't exist. Zhang Yichen really did have that kind of feelings for Su Qing sang. He was very sure about that now. Why would he be drugged? Who drugged him? Everyone clearly ate together before. Su Qing sang couldn't figure it out. She couldn't help but look at Hua Jinyao with confusion in her eyes. Hua Jinyao stopped thinking. He didn't tell Su Qing sang about Zhang Yichen's feelings for her. Chapter 573. Hua Jinyao stood there with a cold face. His facial features were cold, and his eyes were sharp. I know who drugged him. Who? Su Qingsing couldn't figure it out at all. All the guests were relatives. Strictly speaking, Su Peijian was the only one who wasn't a relative. But why would Su Peijian drug Zhang Yichen for no reason? If it wasn't her, then who among the group of guests could it be? Hua Jinyao shook his head and put his hands on Su Qingsang's shoulders. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. Go back to your room and rest. Then, Su Qingsang glanced at the bed. Zhang Yichen was still sleeping. The doctor had given him a preliminary treatment after receiving the test results. It wasn't that heavy. If Zhang Yichen hadn't been drunk, he wouldn't have ended up like this. Uncle had an injection. He should be sleeping. He doesn't need anyone to take care of him. Su Qingsang nodded. Even if Hua Jinyao wanted her to take care of Zhang Yichen, she didn't want to do it now. It wasn't that she didn't want to save face for her relatives. It was that after what happened just now, she didn't dare to stay. Even if Zhang Yichen was drunk, he had to be careful when he was alone with Su Qingsang and Su Qingsang. I think so too. She didn't leave in a hurry, because she wanted to save face for Hua Jinyao. Su Qingsang sighed in her heart and glanced at Zhang Yichen. He didn't do it on purpose, but he was the one who brought this embarrassing situation to her. However, she wasn't really mad at him, considering that he was drugged and had drunk so much. Instead, she felt sympathy for him. She didn't know who he had offended to make him suffer like this. Su Qingsang thought it was a prank, but Hua Jinyao didn't think so. After sending Su Qingsang back to her room, he went upstairs to Lu Tongjia's room. Lu Tongjia was still angry. Her anger hadn't completely dissipated even after such a long time. After a knock on the door, Hua Jinyao appeared in the room. His hands were clenched into fists. He looked at Lu Tongjia with a complicated look. Lu Tongjia felt uncomfortable being stared at like that. Before she could say anything, Hua Jinyao had already walked up to her. He looked at Lu Tongjia with disappointment in his eyes. Why are you doing this? Lu Tongjia looked at Hua Jinyao in confusion. She had no idea what he was talking about. Mom, tell me, why did you do this? Lu Tongjia's face darkened. What did I do? Don't tell me that just because I said a few words about your wife, you're in such a rush to stand up for her? Hua Jinyao smiled bitterly. He looked at Lu Tongjia and couldn't believe that she could say something like that at a time like this. Mom, am I really your son? Are you really my mother? You can't bear to see me happy? You can't look at me, okay? What nonsense are you talking about? Lu Tongjia was angry. Who gave you the right to talk to me like that? Do you still have any respect for your mother? If you want me to put you in my eyes, then what about you? Do you really think of me as your son? Do you? Hua Jinyao took another step forward. He was tall and strong. Even though Lu Tongjia was twice his age, she still took a step back because of Hua Jinyao's imposing manner. Hua Jinyao, get out of here. Wait till I have made myself clear. I have made myself clear. I'll get out of here. What on earth are you talking about? Uncle, only Zhang Yichen was drugged. Drugged? You were drugged. Lu Tongjia's eyes widened in shock. How could you be drugged? What drug? Hua Jinyao thought that she was just trying to hide something. He smiled, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. Mom, shouldn't you be the one who knows best what kind of medicine Uncle was given? What do you mean? I mean exactly what I said. For so many years, Hua Jinyao had been tolerating and giving in. He knew that Lu Tongjia didn't like him, and he knew why. He knew that he couldn't change her mind. He was used to her coldness and indifference. However, he didn't expect that one day, Lu Tongjia would use such a trick on his wife. Putting Zhang Yichen's thoughts aside, Su Qingsang was innocent. Why did she have to endure all this? Hua Jinyao, watch your attitude. What about you? Are you acting like a mother again? Hua Jinyao didn't want to bring it up. It had been a long time, and many things had been weighing on his mind. He was so heavy that he couldn't breathe. No one could truly ignore the hurt that came from their parents and relatives. He was the same. Hua Jinyao, are you blaming me? Can't I? Hua Jinyao's eyes were sharp, and he was clearly blaming her. You say that you're my mother, but what kind of mother are you? You drugged Uncle just to make me misunderstand Qingsang? I know you don't like me, but if you're unhappy with me, you can come at me. Don't hurt Qingsang. Lu Tongjia stuttered. She widened her eyes. She couldn't believe that Hu Jiniao would blame her like that. Mom, I always thought that after all these years, you should feel less resentful. But I was wrong. I don't want to talk about the past anymore. But I won't tolerate it anymore. After saying that, he turned to leave. Lu Tongjia suddenly stood in front of him. Did you say that I drugged Zhang Yichen? Didn't you? Why would I drug him? To make you misunderstand Qingsang, to make us unhappy. Don't you always like to do things like that? You have to do things that make me unhappy. Hu Jiniao. Lu Tongjia was furious. She didn't want to refute the second half of Hu Jiniao's words. She nodded her head heavily. Good, very good. I want you to misunderstand Qingsang. Is this a misunderstanding? Ha! That woman was flirting with Zhang Yichen in a place where you couldn't see her? Did I wrongly accuse her? I was just trying to make you see the truth. I believe in Qingsang's character. And what you meant by letting me see the truth was that you didn't hesitate to give uncle that kind of despicable drug in order to frame her. I drugged Zhang Yichen. Lu Tongjia was furious. Why don't you say that he was a dirty person? He was just tricked by you. Why don't you say that you just don't want me to be happy? Lu Tongjia nodded repeatedly. She was too angry. She didn't expect Hu Jiniao to rush up to her and criticize her in such a tone. She felt a ball of fire burning in her heart, making her lose all rationality. Fine, fine, fine. Yes, I did it. I really don't want you to be happy. What right do you have to be happy? Hu Jiniao, do you have the right to be happy? She pointed at Hu Jiniao with a fierce look, as if she wanted to vent all the resentment she had accumulated over the years. What right do you have to be happy? Everything you have now isn't yours. It's Jinkai's. You took over your brother's position, and you killed him. Now, you have the nerve to say that I don't want you to be happy? Why should I want you to be happy? You killed my son and my daughter. Both of my children died in your hands. And you want to be happy? Based on what? What about Hu Jiniao? Why do you have to make such a request? Lu Tongjia couldn't hold it in anymore. Her eyes were red. She was not acerbic, and she was not without a mother's heart. However, Hu Jiniao had killed her motherly heart. You should have known that when you killed them. Hu Jiniao, you are going to hell. You don't have the right to be happy. Don't you? Lu Tongjia's voice became shrill, and her body began to tremble with anger. She couldn't bear it, and she didn't want to. In fact, for so many years, she and Hu Jiniao had been maintaining a peaceful relationship on the surface. That was just the surface. Like a bubble, it would burst with a gentle poke. Just like now, she couldn't bear it anymore. And she didn't want to bear it anymore. Hu Jiniao looked at her, and saw her revealing such a sharp side. This scene had actually happened once before, when his brother and sister had just died. At that time she was like this too. She shook his shoulder in disbelief. She asked him, "Why don't you die if you're so vicious? Why didn't you die?" Memories were usually not good. Hu Jiniao closed his eyes. When he opened them again, there was no emotion in them. That's the truth, isn't it? That's what you really think, isn't it? You've always thought that way. It's just that all these years, you've been suppressing those thoughts. For you actually hoped that I was the one who died in that accident, right? His voice was very soft, but every word was like a raindrop hitting her heart. Lu Tongjia felt a little uncomfortable for some reason, but she suppressed that discomfort. That's what you said, not what I said. She didn't say that now, but she had already said it back then. Hu Jiniao nodded. He stood up straight and his back was straight. He was tall and strong. He was mature and calm. He was Hu Jiniao, the invincible Hu Jiniao. He forced himself to be calm and indifferent, even though his heart had been riddled with holes by Lu Tongjia. But he couldn't show it on his face. He just stared at Lu Tongjia. His gaze was indifferent, and his expression was calm. However, his eyes were as deep as the sea, making it impossible to see the bottom. Mom, do you know? I've been thinking the same thing for so many years. Why wasn't I the one who died in that accident back then? Lu Tongjia's body trembled, and her legs were a little weak. She forced herself to stand still. I'm telling the truth. Hu Jiniao looked at her and said word by word in a very soft tone. I really hope that the person who died back then was me. If the person who died was really me, I think you wouldn't be so resentful now, right? Hua Jingyao closed his eyes. He didn't want to stay any longer. So he turned around and walked straight to the door. The moment his hand touched the door handle, he stopped. He didn't turn around. He just stared at a certain spot. Tianyu Group belongs to Dad, but it also belongs to Grandpa. You don't like me and want to give Tianyu Group to someone else. I know, and I don't care. Grandpa once said that Big Brother is gone. I am the eldest grandson of the Hua family. I have to shoulder my responsibility as the eldest grandson. Whether it's Tianyu Group or the Hua family, they are all my responsibility. If you really think that I don't deserve to sit in this position, I can go and convince Grandpa. Give the position of CEO to someone else. I don't want it. Whether it's the Hua family's things or Tianyu Group, or even myself. You can do whatever you want. I'll do whatever you want. Just a little. That's my bottom line. That's Su Qingsang. You can deal with me in any way you want. You can take away everything I have now. But if you hurt Su Qingsang, I won't let it go just like that. His grip on the door handle tightened. Finally, he opened the door and left without looking back. After he left, Lu Tongjia's legs turned to jelly. She couldn't stand and fell to the ground. She looked at the tightly closed door. For a moment, she wondered if she had done something wrong. But no one could tell her the answer. Hua Mingguang wasn't here. She couldn't discuss this matter with anyone else. She just sat on the ground. The ground was covered with a thick plush carpet, so it wasn't cold. However, she felt waves of coldness coming from all directions and surrounding her tightly. She raised her hand and pressed it against her heart, trying to convince herself that she wasn't wrong. What was wrong with her? Look at Hua Jinyao's attitude. What did he mean by his bottom line was Su Qingsang? In his heart, only Su Qingsang was human. These family members were not human anymore, right? In his heart, he only cared about Su Qingsang. She wasn't his mother, was she? Lu Tongjia kept coming up with excuses. She kept telling herself that Hua Jingyao was wrong, and that he had gone too far. Look, he even slandered her, and said that she drugged Zhang Yichen. Did she need to drug Zhang Yichen? Even without the drug, Zhang Yichen would still want to be with Su Qingsang. Why would he need her to add fuel to the fire? She wasn't wrong. She wasn't wrong at all. However, no matter how hard she tried to convince herself, Hua Jinyao's words and the expression on his face kept echoing in her mind. Over and over again. If he had been the one who had died, Lu Tongjia's body trembled, and she fell to the ground again. She put her hands on the carpet, and tried to push those thoughts away. She wasn't wrong. She wasn't wrong. She was right. But this time, even she wasn't sure about herself. When Hua Jinyao returned to the room, Su Qingsang had just taken a shower. When Zhang Yichen held her in his arms, she smelled of alcohol, which made her very uncomfortable. As a doctor, even if she wasn't a Virgo, she was more obsessed with cleanliness than the average person. She had just dried her hair when Hua Jinyao came in. Jinyao. He said that he was going to find the person who drugged her. Su Qingsang asked him who it was, but he wouldn't tell her. Seeing his gloomy face, she looked at him worriedly. Before she could get up, Hua Jinyao walked behind her and hugged her. Jinyao. He hugged her tightly, so tightly that she was almost buried in his body. Su Qingsang couldn't move. She raised her hands and gently hugged Hua Jinyao's back. They looked at each other without saying a word. The atmosphere in the room was silent. Su Qingsang heard Hua Jinyao's heartbeat. It seemed to be faster than usual. She couldn't help but want to raise her head, but the back of her head was pressed against his chest. She couldn't move at all. It was a very uncomfortable position, but she couldn't push him away. It wasn't that she couldn't, but that she didn't want to. She just leaned against his chest, letting him hug her tightly with a strength that could almost hurt her, not letting go, until she heard his heartbeat slow down. She pressed her lips together and pressed her face against his chest. Who drugged me? Can you tell me? Hua Jinyao didn't say anything. She felt his body tense up. She thought for a moment. Someone who could make Hua Jinyao act like this couldn't be an outsider. That drug, was it your mother who drugged me? She wasn't sure. At least, she couldn't think of a reason why Lu Tongjia would do that. However, Hua Jinyao's body stiffened almost instantly, which made her sure of it. She suddenly raised her head, ignoring his hand that was still on the back of her head. Her pretty eyes were full of shock. She looked at him in disbelief. Really? Hua Jinyao pressed his lips into a straight line. He hugged her very tightly. Su Qingsang didn't know what to say. She was a smart woman. She didn't even need to think to figure out why Lu Tongjia did that. She didn't like me, so she drugged Zhang Yichen? So that you would see it and misunderstand me? No way. She went around in circles just to set me up? If that was the case, Su Qingsang really admired Lu Tongjia. No one else could be so calculative. Hua Jinyao looked at Su Qingsang and hugged her again. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Qingsang. Su Qingsang could sense the apology in his words, but she still felt that something was wrong, as if something was wrong. That's not right. Su Qingsang looked up at him. It doesn't make sense, does it? After all, if I didn't go out to make the call, if I didn't go out to the hallway, won't her plan fail? Why did you go out to the hallway? Hua Jinyao thought of what happened just now. Su Qingsang glanced at her phone and said, I went out to answer the call. It was from Mengwan. I didn't want to disturb you, so I went out. So you see, it doesn't make sense at all. If I didn't go out, she wouldn't have had the chance. Besides, how did she know that I would go out to make the call at that time? I don't think she needed to know that you would call at that time. Hua Jinyao's face was cold. He thought of what Lu Tongjia had done recently all these years. He really couldn't be happy. In fact, I think even if you didn't go out to make the call, she would have found a way to get you out at that time. Are you so sure? Of course. She was the one who brought the hangover soup. She knows very well which room Uncle usually sleeps in. Hua Jinyao looked down at Su Qingsang with a sullen face. In fact, it might be because you ran away. Another thing was that his uncle's willpower was strong. He didn't really hurt you. Otherwise, she could have called all the other members of the Hua family here. When they came and saw that you were her niece's daughter-in-law, but you had an affair with your uncle, they would misunderstand. At that time, no matter how much I trust you, I'm afraid you won't be able to stay in the Hua family anymore. It was true that Old Master Hua loved him and valued him. However, Old Master Hua wouldn't let such a scandal happen. He wouldn't allow such a thing to happen to his family. Hua Jinyao knew that, and so did Su Qingsang. If Su Qingsang and Zhang Yichen were really caught, even if she knew it was fake, what would Old Master Hua think? Even if they could find out later, and say that Zhang Yichen was drunk and drugged, who would believe that? Zhang Yichen was a relative of the Hua family. He was Old Master Hua's nephew. They couldn't do anything to him, but they could turn around and deal with her. Not to mention that Zhang Yichen was a soldier. If he did such a thing, his family wouldn't tolerate him. He might even lose his military identity. Thinking about it this way, the person who drugged him was really ruthless. But she still had a strange feeling that Lu Tongjia wouldn't do such a thing. I'm telling the truth that your mother doesn't like me. But what reason does she have to deal with Uncle? After all, he's Grandaunt's son. He's also Grandaunt's favorite youngest son. She has a reason. Hua Jinyao said expressionlessly. He thought of the time when he was in the army. Before he went abroad to study, he would go to Zhang Yichen's army every summer and winter vacation. Zhang Yichen and he were not only uncle and nephew, but also good friends like brothers. Lu Tongjia knew this. She just couldn't bear to see him do well. She didn't want to see anyone who was good to him, no matter who it was. She came up with such a way to drive a wedge between him and Su Qingsang, and at the same time, make his relationship with Zhang Yichen worse. Two birds with one stone. Was that right? Su Qingsang lowered her head. She felt that something was wrong. But hearing Hua Jinyao's analysis, she felt that it was normal. You don't have to excuse her. She admitted it herself. Su Qingsang's eyes widened. She was really shocked this time. She admitted it? Yes. Hua Jinyao hugged Su Qingsang again. From an angle that she couldn't see, his face was full of pain. It was so painful to be hurt by someone close to her. Hua Jinyao, Aunt might be. She wanted to say a few words for Lu Tongjia, but even she felt that such an explanation would be too weak and useless. Su Qingsang thought of what Lu Tongjia had said last time. She thought of the kidnapping and the departure of Hua Jinyao's brother and sister. She raised her head to look at Hua Jinyao. She was full of questions. She really couldn't believe that Hua Jinyao was that kind of person, even though he was still young at that time. Hua Jinyao hugged her tightly and rested his chin on the top of her head. He looked at a certain point in the void, and the nightmarish kidnapping case from that year flashed through his mind. Chapter 574. Why? Su Qingsang's heartbeat quickened. Was Hua Jinyao going to tell her what happened back then? Because Hua Jinyao paused. He didn't know what to say. Su Qingsang felt his stiffness and hesitation. She looked up at him with a gentle gaze. If you don't want to say it, then don't. She had promised him that she would give him time. There were people in the hospital who had been traumatized, and some of them were unwilling to talk about their pain for the rest of their lives. She understood that feeling. Hua Jinyao shook his head. In fact, it wasn't that he didn't want to say it. He just didn't know how to say it. There were some things that he thought he had forgotten after more than 10 years, but he hadn't. He clearly remembered every detail, every scene, every word. Those were nightmares that he could not get rid of. But now he was no longer afraid of them. But there were still repercussions. Su Qingsang moved away from his arms and held his hand tightly. Hua Jinyao. She didn't want to see him embarrassed, so she took his hand, walked to the chaise longue in the room, and sat down. She held his hand tightly in hers. Her hand was so small that it couldn't completely wrap around his big hand. But even so, she still held his hand tightly and refused to let go. Don't make things difficult for yourself. If you don't want to say it, you don't have to. Hua Jinyao looked at her holding his hand without saying a word. The conflict with Lu Tongjia was still fresh in his mind. Lu Tongjia really hated him. Actually, Lu Tongjia didn't have to hate him. He hated himself too. Didn't I tell you? I'm not the only child my parents have. Su Qingsang already knew, so she wasn't surprised. She didn't respond, but just looked at Hua Jinyao. At that moment, she knew he only needed a listener. Hua Jinyao could still remember his brother's face, which was 50% similar to his, but older and more mature. He was only 2 years older than him. Back then, Hua Jinkai was only 14 years old, but he already looked like an adult. They went to school together and played basketball together. Occasionally, he would hear his brother say that he had received another love letter. Then, Big Brother would return those love letters tactfully. He was very nice to people. In the beginning, he had been nurtured little by old Master Hua. No matter where he was, he would take care of everyone's emotions. Because he had long understood that the two brothers had different personalities, and their future development would also be different. Her brother was the heir of the Hua family, and the head of the Hua family. He was different. As the second son, he didn't have that much pressure. At that time, Hua Jinyao felt so lucky to have such a brother. She shielded him from the wind and rain and shouldered all the responsibilities. A steady older brother who loved to take care of others, and a younger sister, Hua Wushuang. Unparalleled in the world, what a great name. It was enough to show that in the hearts of the Hua family's parents, she was their most precious daughter. Hua Jinyao still remembered his sister's cute and childish look. He remembered that she always liked to follow behind him and call him brother with her childish voice. He still remembered every happy moment when they lived together in this mansion. He and his elder brother liked to play basketball. Every time they came back from a game, Hua Wushuang would cover her nose and say that the sweat on them stinks. She wouldn't mind the smell at all and would throw herself at them, asking them to hug her. Every time he went to school and came home, Hua Wushuang would run to him with her short legs. Brother, you're back? Brother, I missed you so much when you weren't home. Brother, I ate some snacks at home today. It was delicious. Try some too. Brother, Mom doesn't let me eat candy. I'll only eat one. Don't tell Mom, okay? Every time, Hua Wushuang would blink and slyly try to make him her accomplice. At this time, he would quietly put the candy in her mouth and make a shushing gesture. Then little Wushuang would laugh like a little squirrel. Then she stood up, leaned towards his face, and kissed him with a smack sound. She accidentally broke an antique vase that Lu Tongjia liked very much, and then she would cry. However, when she saw him, she would immediately stop crying and raise her hand. Ah, that vase was suddenly broken by a kitten. It wasn't me. After he saw through her, she snuggled into his arms and said, "Don't tell Mom. I'll be careful next time. I won't break the vase again." She was still thinking that she would be scolded. But when he took the initiative to stand up and say that she broke the vase, she confessed. She told Lu Tongjia that she broke the vase, and it had nothing to do with her brother. Sometimes she would do something bad because she was too kind. For example, she put her favorite chocolate in his pocket, but the weather was hot, and the melted chocolate stained his clothes. For example, she liked to eat ice cream, but she always had diarrhea. So she always came to the two brothers to please them, saying that she only needed to have a taste. When he turned to face Lu Tongjia, she looked guilty, as if she hadn't eaten ice cream at all. In fact, Lu Tongjia knew that she also liked to see them have a good relationship. A sister like that, soft and fragrant. A little girl who would make people feel that the world was beautiful when he held her in his arms. Her life was forever fixed at 4.5 years old. She didn't even have time to go to elementary school or high school. He didn't have the chance to watch her grow up and find a boyfriend. At that time he could be a brother. He could teach those boys who pursued her a good lesson. So many regrets, so much pain. And so many regrets. But none of them could bring back Hua Wushuang's life, nor could they bring back her innocent smile. Hua Jingyao hated the 4 kidnappers so much. Even though they had received the punishment they deserved, so what? His brother and his sister would never come back. And their deaths were indeed related to him. Hua Jingyao still remembered that year. When he found out that he was kidnapped by those kidnappers, his first reaction was to run away. But it was too difficult. It was really too difficult. The kidnappers had guns, and their hands and feet were tied. He wanted to break free, but there was no way. Hua Jingyao forced himself to calm down. He was a child, but not an ordinary child. He couldn't escape. He knew that he couldn't escape. The man named Da called the Hua family. He didn't know how the Hua family agreed. 150 million in 3 days. They were willing to pay. Hua Jingyao knew that his parents wouldn't care about 150 million. After all, their lives were priceless to Hua Mingguang and his wife. After the initial panic, Hua Jingyao had calmed down. He knew that at that moment, his anxiety wouldn't solve any problems. Both he and Hua Jinkai were aware of this. The two brothers had been brothers for many years, so they had a tacit understanding of each other. They didn't need to say anything more. They could understand each other with just a look. After the call, Da had achieved his goal. He was in a good mood. He ordered Liang to buy food. This place was too remote. They had to drive out to buy food. It was getting dark. The sky outside was getting dark. Hua Jinkai and Hua Jingyao were huddled in a corner. The two brothers leaned against each other, not saying a word. They had tried to talk, but Da would beat them with the butt of his gun. The two of them didn't say anything. Hua Jingyao and Hua Jinkai huddled together. Behind them was Hua Wushuang, who was also tied up. Hua Wushuang was younger, so she had been hit. Just now, the kidnappers had thrown her on the ground in an extremely rough manner. Her body couldn't take it, so she was still asleep. The old warehouse was big and cold, even though it was summer at that time. But at night, the temperature was not high. The warehouse was by the sea, and the sea breeze blew over, bringing with it a humid and salty feeling. The wind caused them to shiver, making them feel cold. Even the two brothers were like this, let alone Hua Wushuang. Both Hua Jingyao and Hua Jinkai were worried that Hua Wushuang would catch a cold. Together, they shielded Hua Wushuang's small body with their bodies, trying to protect her from the cold wind. Liang bought some food and came back. The gangsters took their own lunch boxes and started eating. No one gave the Hua siblings anything to eat. Wang Ming asked, but Brother Da glared at him coldly. What? You feel sorry for them? Don't worry. 1 or 2 meals won't kill me. Hua Jingyao and Hua Jinkai didn't want to eat their food either. But if they didn't eat, they would be tied up for 3 days. 3 days later, they would probably starve to death. Whatever Hua Jingyao could think of, the criminals could naturally think of as well. Chen Si glanced at the Hua siblings before turning to look at Brother Da. Let's give them something to eat. Otherwise, they will starve to death on the day of the ransom. That's not good. Da glanced in their direction. He agreed. Hua Jingyao thought that Chen Si was a good person when he mentioned it. He walked up to them and put down the lunch boxes, but didn't put down his chopsticks. He didn't even untie the Hua siblings. I'm sorry, young masters. What about you? Are you going to eat on your stomach? Hua Jingyao and Hua Jinkai were tied up and lying on the ground. If they really wanted to eat the lunch boxes on the ground, they would have to lie on their stomachs. As the young master of the Hua family, Hua Jinkai had never been humiliated like this before. He raised his foot to kick Chen Si, but Hua Jingyao stopped him. However, she was stopped by Hua Jingyao. He was also angry. He was angry, but they had guns, and the others had knives. They were no match for them. If they really fought, they would be at a disadvantage. With that in mind, Hua Jingyao wouldn't let Hua Jinkai resist. After all, he had heard many stories like this when he was in the army with Zhang Yichen. Hua Jinkai was the eldest son of the Hua family, so he calmed down quickly. He glanced at Hua Jingyao, signaling with his eyes that he was fine. However, it was impossible for the two of them to eat like dogs. The two of them sat across from each other. Neither of them touched the lunch boxes. Boy, you have guts. Never mind. Let's see how long you can last. Chen Si turned and walked away. When he returned to the place where the lunch boxes were, he exclaimed, "Damn it! How are we going to eat with masks on?" The others turned to look at Hua Jingyao and his brother. Liang, Chen Si, and Wang Ming were different from Brother Da. Only Brother Da wasn't wearing a mask. The other three were all wearing masks. Da was a Class A wanted criminal. His arrest warrant had been issued all over the country. However, the three of them weren't. They didn't want to end up like that. They didn't want to be seen by the Hua siblings, so they all wore masks. It was time for dinner, but the three of them weren't in front of the Hua siblings. Fortunately, the warehouse was spacious. The three of them went to the other side of the warehouse and finished their dinner. Just as they finished their dinner, Hua Wushuang woke up. As soon as she woke up, Hua Wushuang found that she was not in her happy home, nor was she in the amusement park. The warehouse in front of her was cold, dark, dirty, and smelly. How could she stand living in such an environment? Besides, she was only 4 years old. She didn't know anything yet. She burst into tears. Hua Jingyao and his brother panicked when they saw her crying. Wushuang, don't cry. Wushuang, stop. Don't cry. The gangsters were still eating at the other side of the warehouse. If they heard Hua Wushuang's crying, they would get impatient. As expected, before Hua Jingyao and Hua Jingyao could finish their conversation, Brother Da spat out the toothpick in his mouth and walked toward them. Hearing the footsteps, Hua Jinkai panicked. He didn't care that he was tied up. He moved to Hua Wushuang. Wushuang, calm down. Don't cry. Brother, I feel bad. As the little princess of the Hua family, Hua Wushuang had never suffered like this. My feet hurt. My hands hurt too. Why did you tie me up? Was it because I wanted to come to the amusement park? No. Hua Jinkai moved closer to his sister. His face was full of anxiety. Wushuang, my dear Wushuang, don't cry. You didn't do anything wrong. We are playing a game of soldiers catching robbers. Don't cry. When this game is over, we can go home. Soldiers catching robbers? Little Wushuang blinked. She was young, but she had watched TV. We are playing a game? Yes, Hua Jingyao said. Wushuang, we are playing a game. We are playing a hostage caught by the bad guys. Do you remember the movie I took you to see? Yes. Hua Wushuang stopped crying. The bad guys were caught, and the hostage was rescued. Yes. That's great. That's it. While Hua Jingyao was talking, he saw Da walking toward them. He stood up and blocked Hua Wushuang's body. Wushuang, the bad guys are coming. Don't talk. Don't provoke them, okay? Okay. I know. Hua Wushuang was too young, and she trusted Hua Jingyao and Hua Jinkai too much. If they said it was a play, then it was a play. If they said it was a game, then it was a game. However, there was one more thing that Hua Wushuang couldn't stand. Brother, my hands and feet hurt so much. Can you loosen the ropes a little? Why do you have to tie them so tightly? Hua Jingyao and Hua Jinkai couldn't answer Hua Wushuang's question. They didn't have time to answer. Da was already walking toward them. He looked at Hua Jingyao and Hua Jinkai and sneered. Hey little girl, you're awake? You look so young. As Da spoke, he reached out to touch Hua Wushuang's face. Hua Jinkai was tied up, but when he saw Da's movement, He stood in front of Huo Wushuang. Huo Wushuang was young, but she wasn't stupid. She was young, but she had a feeling that De wasn't a good person. She curled up and hid behind Huo Jinyao. Little girl, I'm not a bad person. Didn't you hear what your brother said? We're just acting. We're just messing around with you. Huo Wushuang leaned against Huo Jinyao. She didn't want to believe Da's words. De wasn't angry. He glanced at the faces of the boys, and finally fixed his eyes on Huo Wushuang. He clicked his tongue. She's so pretty. She's a real beauty. She's still so young, but she's already so cute. I wonder how beautiful she'll be when she grows up. De stared at Huo Wushuang, which made Huo Jinkai feel sick. Huo Jinkai blocked Huo Wushuang's body. He was already 14 years old and 1.7 meters tall. They couldn't see anything now that he was in the way. He spat and glanced at the cold lunchbox on the ground beside him. Suddenly he kicked it hard. The lunchbox was knocked over, and the food inside spilled out. De looked at Huo Jinyao and Huo Jinkai. I'm so sorry. I didn't see your feet. You can eat it like this. The food on the top should still be edible. Huo Jinkai and Huo Jinkai clenched their teeth again. However, they both managed to hold back their anger. De found it boring. He spat and stood up straight, glancing coldly at Huo Jinkai and Huo Jinkai. Kid, don't be rude. Don't be rude here. I gave you food, so eat it. You don't want to eat it? Then you won't have to eat it from tomorrow onwards. As he spoke, he kicked the other lunchbox away. The food was mixed together and covered with the dust of the warehouse. It looked like it would never be edible again. Huo Wushuang pouted and almost cried again. Huo Jinyao turned around and glanced at her. De was happy after his trick. De left. The 3 kidnappers had finished eating as well. The 4 of them gathered together and began to play cards in the dim light. Huo Wushuang had been holding back, but after midnight, she couldn't stand it anymore. Brother, I'm so scared. Brother, they're not playing games with us, are they? Brother, are we going to die? Although she was young, she knew fear. She asked every question in a low voice. No, you won't die. Wushuang, trust me. I won't let you die. Huo Jinkai's heart was broken when he saw his sister so scared. His hands and feet were tied up again. Otherwise, he would have picked her up and comforted her. Huo Jinyao was thinking the same thing. He looked at the kidnappers. They were playing cards at the climax of the game, so no one was paying attention to them. They seemed to have lost money, and he kept cursing. Huo Jinyao glanced at Huo Jinkai. Huo Jinkai was thinking the same thing. The 2 brothers looked at each other and understood each other. Both Huo Jinyao and Huo Jinkai were thinking about running away. If the kidnappers didn't give them food or water for 3 days, they would be dead. Even if the ransom came, they would be dead. If they didn't find a way to escape, they would starve to death. But if they ran away, it would be risky. There were 4 kidnappers, all tall and strong adult men. Moreover, they were armed with guns. Against these people, their chances of winning were too small. They and the other kidnappers had been playing cards. Huo Jinyao comforted Huo Wushuang, telling her to rest and not to worry. Don't worry. You can sleep. Maybe you'll be home tomorrow. Huo Wushuang couldn't sleep. She was scared, but she trusted Huo Jinyao. Maybe he was telling the truth. Perhaps after a good night's sleep, she would be able to wake up at home the next day. Huo Jinyao looked at Huo Jinkai when he saw his sister was so cooperative. They were talking in a low voice. They couldn't alert the kidnappers, and they couldn't let them hear them. When Huo Jinyao was in the army with Zhang Yichen, he had learned how to untie the ropes on his hands when he was tied up. Zhang Yichen had taught him how to untie the ropes on his hands. It worked on any rope, but he didn't know that the ropes De had prepared for them were so difficult to untie. Huo Jinyao tried for a long time. His hands hurt, but he still couldn't untie the ropes. He glanced at Huo Jinkai. Huo Jinkai also tried for a long time, but he couldn't untie the ropes either. The 2 brothers were unable to untie each other, so they could only lean back against each other again. They wanted to untie each other's ropes first by moving back to back. Every time they moved, they glanced at Da and the other kidnappers. Da and the other kidnappers were so engrossed in the game that none of them paid attention to them. Their hands were behind their backs, and the ropes were tied tightly. Huo Jinyao and Huo Jinkai tried for a long time, but to no avail. By then, They had been playing cards for almost the whole night. Damn it, I don't believe I can't win. He stared at the table, his eyes shining. His face was filled with determination and anger. Duh. If we can't win, we can't win. We'll have money soon anyway. Yeah, duh. 150 million. Each of us will get 37.5 million. Think about it. When the time comes, your money will be nothing. Liang hadn't won the most money that day, so he dared to say that. De glanced at Hu Jinkai and Hu Jinkai, only to find that they were still sitting there quietly. He turned around, pulled out a card, and threw it out. What's this? Let me tell you. Who doesn't want more money? Hu Jinyao and Hu Jinkai had a hard time untying the ropes. They were waiting for the kidnappers to go to bed. They wanted to hurry up. However, they didn't expect that the kidnappers would stay up all night. They had no intention of stopping to rest. Hu Wushuang was tired from crying. She had already fallen asleep. Hu Jinyao spent a long time untying the ropes on Hu Jinkai's wrists. He didn't dare untie them. He could only wait for them to go to bed. Hu Jinyao and Hu Jinkai were very sleepy, and the places where they had been kicked by Da were hurting. They stayed alert, waiting for Da and the other kidnappers to go to bed. Chapter 575. Neither Hu Jinyao nor Hu Jinkai had ever experienced anything like this. Neither of them had ever suffered such torment. However, they could not afford to panic, nor could they afford to be disorderly. He could only wait for Da and the other kidnappers to go to sleep. Da did go to bed. Before going to bed, he walked over to Hu Jinkai's side and pointed the gun at Hu Jinkai and Su Qingsang. Stinking brat. I'm telling you, you'd better stay put. This way, when Grandpa wakes up tomorrow, he might be in a good mood and untie the rope for you to eat. After saying that, Da went to sleep at the other end of the warehouse. There were a few old sofas there, barely enough to sleep on for one night. As for Liang and the others, they had arranged their own tasks. Chun Si kept watch for the first half of the night, and Wang Ming for the second half. As for Liang, he was responsible for getting up from time to time to patrol outside. After the work was done, Wang Ming and Liang went to rest. Chun Si was left behind to watch them. Hu Jinyao breathed a sigh of relief. As long as the other party went to rest, his chance had come. That was what he really thought. He waited for the criminals to fall asleep. He turned to look at Hu Jinkai. She signaled with her eyes that they could begin now. Hu Jinkai nodded. Using his body as a shield, he untied all the ropes around his hands. So did Hu Jinyao. The two of them didn't dare to untie the ones on their feet in one breath. He was afraid that the noise would be too loud and alert the criminals. After he untied his own hands, he started to untie Hu Wushuang's body. Hu Wushuang had hit her head and was knocked unconscious by the criminal. After she woke up, she cried for a long time. She was so tired that she didn't wake up even after the rope was untied. Hu Jinyao glanced at Dada's eyes were closed, and he seemed to be sleeping soundly. Meanwhile, Chun Si sat by the mahjong table and smoked. He puffed out a cloud of smoke and did not look over. Wang Ming, who had been keeping watch for the second half of the night, had already gone to bed. Only Liang was left patrolling outside. Hu Jinyao and Hu Jinkai communicated with each other through their eyes. In fact, what they were going to do next was quite risky. But in order to escape, they couldn't care less. The two brothers' plan was very simple. They would escape when they were asleep, and their guard was at its weakest. The other side only had 4 people while they had 2. Hu Jinkai worked out regularly, so he was in good shape. Although Hu Jinyao was 2 years younger, he had already been in the army. Neither of them looked short, so there was still hope if they worked hard. The two of them wanted to deal with Chun Si first. It would be best if he could land a hit and knock Chun Si unconscious. Wang Ming and Brother Da were asleep, so he didn't want to disturb them. The warehouse was huge. As long as they escaped from this warehouse, they should be safe when they ran outside. Hu Jinkai loosened the ropes that bound the 3 men's legs. He looked at Hu Jinyao. She whispered in his ear, "I don't think so. The opponent had a gun. If we can't escape, we'll be in danger. But if we don't escape, we'll still be in danger." Hu Jinyao pursed his lips and glanced at Da. That person had a gun, but he wasn't wearing a mask. How do you know that he will really follow the agreement and let you go after getting the money? The other party didn't even cover his face. It was obvious that he wasn't afraid of them testifying against him. It was very likely that the enemy had no intention of letting them return home safely. They wanted to kill the hostages after getting the money. Hua Jinyao's analysis made sense. However, Hua Jinkai had a different idea. He masked his face, but the others haven't. Maybe we still have a chance. Hua Jinyao never liked to pin his hopes on others. If he had a chance to escape, why wouldn't he? Hua Jinkai was mature and steady. He didn't think this was a good plan. Jinyao, there are too many of them. They're not just one person. How about we wait a little longer? He trusted the police and his family to get them out. It wasn't that Hua Jinyao didn't trust them, but that would be too long. He glanced at Hua Wushuang. We can wait here. What about Wushuang? They were not young anymore, and they were boys. They didn't care if it was cold or hungry for a few days. But Wushuang was only 4.5 years old. How could they let Hua Wushuang suffer here for 3 days? When Hua Jinyao mentioned Hua Wushuang, Hua Jinkai hesitated. Yes, they could stay here for 3 days. They could wait for their parents to pay the ransom and get them out. But Hua Wushuang was so young. What would happen if she stayed here for 3 days? Hua Jinkai didn't hesitate anymore. He nodded at Hua Jinyao. The two of them decided to escape together. Hua Jinkai was older, so he carried Hua Wushuang. Hua Jinyao knocked Chen Si out. Then, they could leave the warehouse without alerting Da and Wang Ming. The door of the warehouse was closed. If they wanted to go out, they would definitely make some noise. Liang, who was guarding the warehouse, would be alerted. So the best solution was for the two of them to take down 3 of the hostages at the same time. That wasn't realistic. Although Hua Jinyao had trained in the army for a few days, he wasn't so arrogant as to think that the two of them could take down 2 of the hostages at the same time. So the last solution was to knock Chen Si out and then run away. Hua Jinyao asked Hua Jinkai to carry Hua Wushuang. He sat there and pretended to stretch his limbs. Chen Si was smoking and puffing out smoke. His vision wasn't very clear. Besides, he wasn't looking at them. Hua Jinyao knew that he had to hit Chen Si. He quickly got up and quietly walked behind Chen Si. When he was unprepared, he hit the back of Chen Si's head hard. Chen Si fell to the ground. Hua Jinyao didn't know if he was dead or alive. Hua Jinyao didn't want to make any noise and wake Da and Wang Ming up. He used all his strength to hold Chen Si steady, and then made him lie on the table. The first step was successful. Hua Jinyao felt relieved, and turned to look at Hua Jinkai. He had Hua Wushuang on his back. Hua Jinyao glanced in Da's direction. He was glad that there were some big, useless boxes in the warehouse which blocked his view. He quietly approached the side of the warehouse. He opened the door slightly. The old wooden door of the warehouse let out a low squeak. Hua Jinyao's heart was beating fast. However, he quickly looked outside. He didn't see Liang, which made him panic. If Liang ran away at this moment, they would be discovered. Hua Jinkai was already walking over with Hua Wushuang on his back. Hua Wushuang was lying on his back. Her face was squeezed together, as if she was about to wake up. Hua Jinyao didn't have time to think about it. He turned around and walked out of the warehouse. He wanted to find Liang and get rid of him. However, he went out and looked left and right, but he did not see Liang. Hua Jinyao knew that they were in trouble, but they were already out. The only thing they could do was try to run away. Who knew how far they could run? A Liang ran out from an unknown corner. Kid, you still want to run? Hua Jinyao heard Liang shout. He glanced at Hua Jinkai. Brother, run. He told Hua Jinkai to go first, while he stayed to deal with Liang. A Liang shouted into the warehouse. Duh. The kid is running away. Hua Jinyao knew that the situation was not good. He signaled Hua Jinkai to run, while he threw a punch at Liang. Kid. Not bad. Liang didn't expect Hua Jinyao's sudden move, and was hit. He spat out a mouthful of blood with a grimace on his face. When Hua Jinyao swung his fist at him again, he grabbed his fist and punched him with the back of his hand. Hua Jinyao didn't expect Liang to be so good at martial arts. He was hit as well. Hua Jinyao took the punch. The opponent's punch was fierce and heavy. He couldn't help but let out a low cry. Hua Jinkai didn't expect his brother to be hit. He stopped and looked at Hua Jinyao, wanting to help. The night was too dark. The only source of light was the reflection of the fire in the warehouse. Hua Jingyao saw what Hua Jinkai was doing. He panicked. He didn't even care about the punch on his face. "Brother, run. Don't worry about me. Hurry up and run." Hua Jinkai glanced at him, gritted his teeth, and carried Hua Wushuang on his back. He didn't expect Hua Wushuang to wake up at that moment. It was too cold outside. She heard Hua Jingyao's voice again. She woke up. It was so dark. She was scared. Before she could cry out, she saw out of the corner of her eye that Hua Jingyao was being beaten. She was too young to see it clearly at first. When she saw it clearly, she burst into tears. "Don't hit my brother. Don't hit my brother. Stop. Don't hit my brother. Brother. Brother." She struggled to get off Hua Jinkai's back. Hua Jinkai was worried about Hua Jingyao. He lost his balance and let Hua Wushuang jump off his back. "Wushuang!" Hua Jingyao and Hua Jinkai both saw Wushuang's movement and shouted. But it was useless. Wushuang was already running toward Hua Jingyao. At the same time, Dai and Wang Ming woke up with a start. Even Chen Si was woken up by Da's kick. "Wushuang!" Hua Jingyao was desperate. He saw Hua Wushuang's small body run toward them. Liang punched her in the face several times. "Wushuang, run. Run with Big Brother. Don't come near me. Wushuang." He was punched in the face again. Liang kicked Hua Jingyao. His body flew out, and Hua Wushuang cried even harder. She rushed to Hua Jingyao. "Brother! Brother! Wushuang, run!" Hua Jingyao hated himself. He really hated himself. He hated himself for not being careful. He hated himself for thinking that there were so many things he could do when he was older. He hated himself for suggesting that they should run. He was hit by Da and watched helplessly as Da picked up Wushuang's body. Hua Jinkai rushed over and threw a punch at Da. Kicked him away and threw Wushuang's small body to the ground. "Wushuang!" The two brothers screamed at the same time. In the night sky, Hua Wushuang's cries sounded so mournful and painful. "Wushuang!" The two brothers quickly got up and tried to run to Hua Wushuang. But it was useless. Hua Jingyao had already been restrained by Wang Ming and Chen Si, who had run out. Liang blocked Hua Jinkai's way. He kicked him a few times and punched him. Although he was only 14, he was as tall as an adult. But he was not as tall as Liang. They didn't know that Liang was a boxer until later. How could they win against a boxer like him when they were so young? Hua Jingyao was punched by Chen Si. "You little bastard. How dare you hit me? Kid, you must be tired of living. You're good. Come on, hit me." Hua Jingyao didn't know how many times he had been hit. But none of the pain was comparable to the pain he felt when Da picked Hua Wushuang up. "Let her go. Let her go. Do you hear me? Let her go." His cry was incomparably mournful. But it was useless. Da threw Hua Wushuang's body again. She cried even harder. At this moment, Da didn't forget to give him a kick. He didn't know where he kicked, but Hua Wushuang stopped crying. On the other side, Hua Jinkai had been beaten up for so long that he was on the verge of collapsing. Hua Jingyao had never experienced such despair. He yelled at Da, "Let them go. Let them go. I'm telling you, it's useless to kidnap them. My mother didn't give birth to them. My mother won't pay a ransom for them. They are illegitimate children of the Hua family. Do you hear me? It's useless to kidnap them. Let them go. You let them go." He kept repeating those words, shouting himself hoarse. Da was annoyed. He walked over to Hua Jingyao. He kicked Hua Jingyao in the stomach. "Kid, trying to be a hero? You think you can do that? Don't run? Run. Why don't you run? Illegitimate children? Illegitimate children? Do you think I'll believe you?" Hua Jingyao looked like he was in love with his sister. Who would believe that? I'm telling the truth. He had been punched so many times by Liang that he couldn't take it anymore. Hua Jinkai was being punched even harder than he was. Hua Jingyao endured the pain in his stomach and spoke to Da. "You want a hostage? One is enough. Let them go. Do you hear me?" Bam! He was hit in the stomach again. He bent over in pain. Da stopped in front of him. "Brat, trying to act in front of me. You're still too inexperienced. Let me tell you. You want to pretend to be a hero? You can't pretend to be me." Hua Jingyao's body was in so much pain that he could barely feel anything. But Da's words made him feel more desperate than pain. The next 2 days were like a nightmare for him. No matter how many times he repeated what he had said, no matter how hard he tried to convince Da that Hu Jinkai and Hu Wushuang were illegitimate children, and that they should let them go, it didn't work. He watched helplessly as Da tortured Hu Jinkai. They would beat Hu Jinkai when he woke up, hit him in front of his face. While beating him, he said, "Kid, we're doing this for you. If he died, your family's property will belong to you alone." Hu Wushuang was seriously injured. The next day, he fell into a coma with a high fever. Hu Jinyao had begged for mercy. He even knelt down before Da. "I beg you, please let go of my sister. She is only 4 years old. She wouldn't remember anything. You can find a hospital and leave her there. I beg you." "Kid, what? You want us to go downtown so the police can arrest us? You wish." Da didn't fall for his trick. Hu Jinyao was furious. "My mother has wanted to get rid of them for a long time. If you really let them all die, she'll be happy if you let them all die." He was punched again. Da stared at his face and said angrily, "Don't worry, kid, we still have you, don't we? Look, you're still in our hands. Don't worry, kid. You like to pretend to be a hero, so I'll let you be one. You like to be a hero, so I'll let you be one. But don't even think about escaping. You can't get away." 3 days. 3 whole days. Soft and hard, good and bad. Hu Jinyao said everything he wanted to say, but he couldn't soften Da's heart. On the 3rd day, he was even more desperate. He saw that Da was the only one who didn't wear a mask. On the 3rd day, Chun-Si and the others didn't wear masks anymore. What did that mean? He knew it better than anyone else. They would kill the hostages. There was no way he could survive that day. The great despair filled him with regret and pain. Why did he have to be brave? Why did he have to run that night? If they had been hostages, if he hadn't encouraged Hu Jinkai to run away, would they have been able to live safely? He didn't know. He didn't have an answer. On the 3rd day, his limbs were tied up and he was beaten badly. He could only watch as Hu Wushuang's breathing became heavier and heavier. No matter how hard he screamed, Wushuang didn't open her eyes. At that moment he screamed in despair. "Wushuang! Wushuang!" His little sister. She wasn't even 5 years old. How could she die like this? Hu Jinkai had suffered enough in the past few days. His body was very weak. When he heard Hu Jinkai's scream, he opened his swollen eyes. He saw Wushuang lying on the ground without a sound. Hu Jinkai screamed even more desperately than Hu Jinyao. However, Hu Jinkai hadn't eaten for days, and had been beaten all day. His voice was hoarse. He screamed, and when Da and the others came over, he rushed up and knocked Da down without a care. Da was angry. His gun was in his pocket. He fired at Hu Jinkai. Hu Jinkai's body fell to the ground. But this time, Hu Jinyao didn't even know how to scream. He stared at Hu Jinkai and Hu Wushuang in front of him. He couldn't believe that the big brother he respected the most, and the little sister he loved the most were gone just like that. "Brother? Wushuang. Stop playing. Get up. It's been 3 days. We can go home now. Get up." He curled up on the ground, groaning in pain. Da didn't have the patience to listen to him, and was about to shoot him. Wang Ming stopped him. "Don't be impulsive, Da. If all the hostages die, we won't get a single cent." Da still had a shred of reason left in him. He nodded and signaled Chun-Si to cover Hu Jinyao's mouth. Still angry, he kicked Hu Jinyao a few more times. Finally, he let Hu Jinyao go. Hu Jinyao couldn't feel the pain anymore. 3 days. 3 whole days. He was tortured both physically and mentally. His willpower had long since been exhausted. He fainted. His last thought before he lost consciousness was that he could finally be reunited with Hu Jinkai and Hu Wushuang. That was good. The 3 of them could still be brother and sister. What he didn't know was that the case was so big that it had alarmed many people. Although the Hu family was anxious, they thought that the hostages wouldn't kill them for the money. By the time they found the 4 hostages and subdued them, Hu Jinkai and Hu Wushuang were gone forever. As for Hu Jinyao, he didn't know if it was because he was physically strong, or because he had a strong will. He was in a coma for 3 whole days. Finally he woke up. Many things had happened while he was in a coma. For example, Da and the others had tried to reduce their crimes. They claimed that Hu Jinkai's 2 lives were manslaughter. Of course, that was impossible. Hua Wuxia hadn't been killed by Da. But she was only 4 years old. She had been seriously injured and couldn't have survived. Hua Jinkai had killed her on purpose. It was true that Da had killed Hua Jinkai, but he said that he didn't want to kill Hua Jinkai. Hua Jinyao had asked him to. He also told the police what Hua Jinyao had said when he was pretending to be a hero. Look, comrade police, he was the one who asked us to kill him. Because if his brother and sister died, he would have a share of the family property. In order to reduce his crime, Da lied. Of course, the police didn't believe him. However, the other gangsters all insisted that Hua Jinyao had indeed said that. The transcript was not open to the public. Even the trial was not open. However, Lu Tongjia and the other members of the Hua family could see the transcript. Lu Tongjia had lost 2 children. She was already in a very bad mood. When he thought of what the notes said, he was naturally quite angry and furious. When she went to see Hua Jinyao, she heard him talking in his sleep. I'm telling you, it's useless to kidnap them. My mother didn't give birth to them. My mother won't pay a ransom for them. They are all illegitimate children of the Hua family. Do you hear me? It's useless to kidnap them. I am the most beloved child of the Hua family. He repeated it over and over again, which made Lu Tongjia's heart turn cold. She also reminded herself to believe in her children. She believed that Hua Jinyao wasn't that kind of person. But when Hua Jinyao woke up, what did he say? Yes, it's me. It's all me. I'm the one who killed them. No one could understand Hua Jinyao's self-blame and pain. He regretted it countless times. He wished that time could stop on that day, the night they were kidnapped. If that happened, he would be humble, would never stand up for them, and would never try to be a hero. He would definitely do everything he could to ensure that everyone, including his brother and sister, would survive. But there were no ifs in life. What had happened would not give him a chance to regret. He was 12 years old. He was a child. He could use such an excuse to explain his behavior. However, he could not overcome his own conscience and his own feelings. So for so many years, he knew that Lu Tongjia had misunderstood him. He knew that Lu Tongjia deliberately made things difficult for him. But he never explained it. Chapter 576. I'm the one who killed them. After that, there was a strange silence in the room. Su Qingseng looked at Hua Jinyao. She couldn't believe that there was such a person in the world. Because he felt that he had killed his brother and sister. He didn't explain himself, even though he knew that his mother had misunderstood him. For so many years, he had endured such misunderstandings alone. What kind of pain was it to endure such torment? Su Qingseng felt a sharp pain in her heart. The pain made her realize that her face was covered with tears. People always hoped for miracles in life. But most of the time, there were no miracles in the world. The deaths of Hua Jinkai and Hua Wuxia were both regrettable. Something that shouldn't have happened had happened. It was already a tragedy. No matter how much Hua Jinyao regretted it, he couldn't save his brother and sister's lives. He couldn't forgive himself. He couldn't forgive himself for being impulsive when he was 12 years old. So for the past 10 or 20 years, he had been torturing himself in this way. Wasn't this kind of torment another tragedy? For the first time, Hua Jinyao didn't notice Su Qingseng's tears. He was immersed in his memories. In fact, he rarely recalled the past. Very rarely. If possible, he even hoped that he could lose his memory. He wanted to forget the 3 days he had been kidnapped. Those 3 days were the darkest days of his life. The torture and pain he had experienced were nightmares that he would never be able to forget. Su Qingseng's face was covered with tears. In her eyes, Hua Jinyao's figure had become a blurry shadow. She moved her lips and wanted to say something, but her throat seemed to be blocked by cotton. She couldn't say a word. She hugged Hua Jinyao tightly and forcefully. Hua Jinyao stood there without moving. His body was very stiff. He was completely immersed in the emotions brought about by the kidnapping. After so many years, he had no one to talk about his self-blame and guilt. He had no one to talk about the pain of losing his family. Who should he talk to? The Hua family. They were all suffering the same pain as him. Lu Tongjia was the one who suffered the most. She had lost 2 children in one day. One was the eldest son she was proud of. One was the little daughter she had been looking forward to seeing for a long time. Hua Jingyao understood Lu Tongjia's pain. Therefore, when he found out that Lu Tongjia had misunderstood him, he couldn't argue back. Hua Jinkai had tried to stop him, and he had told him about it. But he refused to listen, stubbornly going his own way. In the end, it resulted in such an outcome. He clearly only needed to wait for 3 days. As long as he endured through those 3 days, everything would be fine. But he couldn't wait. His brother and sister didn't survive either. Hua Jingyao didn't cry. Ever since he was 12 years old, he hadn't shed a single tear. For such a long time, he had been bitterly suppressing it, desperately holding on. He had gotten used to Lu Tongjia's cold treatment over the past decade. For a long time, Hua Jingyao even enjoyed being treated like this by Lu Tongjia, because in that case he could slightly reduce the self-blame in his heart. He had never thought that one day, Lu Tongjia would go against Su Qingsang, because she didn't like him. Su Qingsang's face was already covered with tears. They were indoors and didn't wear many clothes. She hugged him tightly again. Soon her tears had soaked his clothes. The wetness on his chest made him lower his head. Because of the pain brought by the memories, his eyes were red. He blinked, as if he could see Su Qingsang's face clearly. He reached out his hand, very slowly, and gently stroked her cheek. "Why are you crying?" Su Qingsang couldn't speak. She could only hug him tightly and keep shaking her head. How could there be such a stupid person? "Don't cry. I'm fine." He had already experienced the pain, and he had already been hurt. It was just that those regrets kept tormenting him, and the self-blame kept tormenting him. He had nowhere to vent those emotions, so he occasionally had nightmares in the middle of the night. "I'm really fine now." Su Qingsang wouldn't believe him. If that was really the case, he wouldn't have been plagued by nightmares for so many years. He wouldn't have called her mother when he was sick. He had grown up, but his feelings were still the same as when he was 12 years old. He was still that teenager. A helpless teenager who was kidnapped, hurt. He longed for maternal love and the care from his family. In fact, those were what Lu Tongjia and Hua Mingguang owed him more than 10 years ago. How could Lu Tongjia do that? How could she? Hua Jingyao was also a victim. He also needed Lu Tongjia's gentle words and comfort. He also needed her as a mother to bring him out of that pain. But what did Lu Tongjia give him? Suspicion, accusation, and the hatred that had lasted for more than 10 years. Su Qingsang's eyes were blurry from crying. Her heart ached so much that she couldn't breathe. She looked up at Hua Jingyao and kept shaking her head when he said that he was fine. "It's not like that." Her voice was trembling and full of tears. She shook her head and hugged him tightly. "It's not like that. He wouldn't be fine without the past." How could she do that? How could she? Su Qingsang kept repeating these few words to herself. She wanted to say that Lu Tongjia was wrong. She wanted to say that she should make it up to Hua Jingyao. But she couldn't say it. She could only keep sniffling. Finally, she looked up at Hua Jingyao with a pained face. I'll go talk to her." She let go of him, turned around and rushed to Lu Tongjia's room. "I'll go now." She wanted to make it clear to Lu Tongjia. She had already lost a son and a daughter. Now did she want to lose another child as well? People's hearts were the easiest to be hurt, and it was difficult to heal after it was hurt. Lu Tongjia was wrong. Since she was wrong, then let her fix this mistake. Hua Jingyao subconsciously grabbed her. When she was about to rush out, he pulled her back into his arms. "Don't go. Hua Jingyao. You don't need to say it." Hua Jingyao looked at her face, raised his hand, and used his palm to wipe away the tears on her face little by little. He wiped very, very slowly. He looked at her, and his expression had returned to its usual calmness. "There's no need to say it." Hua Jingyao pursed his lips, and his handsome face was indifferent. It's hard for her too. Lu Tongjia's pain was no less than his. It would only be more than his. For so many years, the nightmare had tortured him for as long as it had tortured Lu Tongjia. There had been a time when Lu Tongjia couldn't get out of that nightmare, no matter how hard she tried. Every night, she couldn't sleep and woke up with a start. Hua Jinkai and Hua Wushuang were both born after she carried them for 10 months. Especially Hua Wushuang. Her departure was the pain of the entire Hua family. Lu Tongjia's pain was transferred after she misunderstood him. She felt better after she transferred the pain, the anger, and the hatred of loss to him. Hua Jingyao knew that. He knew all that. That was why she didn't want to explain anymore. Let it be. If there had to be someone who had to bear the responsibility for these losses, then let him do it. He owed it to Lu Tongjia. It was all his fault. Su Qingsang's tears were wiped away by Hua Jingyao, but her eyes were still red. She opened her eyes and looked at Hua Jingyao in a daze. Hua Jingyao, I'm really fine. Hua Jingyao didn't know how many times he had said that today. Even though he knew that Su Qingsang wouldn't believe him, even though he knew that he was just lying to himself, Su Qingsang didn't want to argue anymore. She stood on her tiptoes and kissed his lips gently and slowly. She traced the shape of his lips carefully. His lips were very beautiful and sexy. They weren't thick and were slightly thin. Some people used to say that people with thin lips were also thin. But now, she felt that his lips were just right. They were soft and bright red, just like his heart. She kissed him and tears fell again. Finally, she couldn't kiss him anymore. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She blinked them away and hugged him tightly. Hua Jingyao hugged her as well. The front of his shirt was wet again with her tears. He tightened the grip on his arm. He lowered his head and kissed her forehead, her eyelids, and kissed away all her tears. Finally, he kissed her lips. She stopped at the first touch and hugged him again. They didn't speak again. They just hugged each other like that. Time seemed to stand still. He needed time, and so did she. She slowly calmed herself down. She stopped crying. Her eyes were still swollen. He lowered his head to look at her and sighed softly. It's okay. It's okay. Let's go and wash your face. Apply it to your eyes, or you'll feel uncomfortable later. They were going to have dinner together tonight. If she went with her face like that, she would probably attract attention. Su Qingsang sniffled and nodded heavily. Hua Jingyao held her hand and walked towards the bathroom. Neither of them spoke again. Su Qingsang let him bring a towel, fill it with water, wring it, and gently wipe her face. His movements were very gentle, as if he was wiping some treasure. Su Qingsang blinked. After Hua Jingyao withdrew his hand, she spoke very softly. Hua Jingyao, have you ever thought about leaving the Hua family? Or leaving Tianyu Group? Hua Jingyao stopped wringing the towel. He glanced at her and nodded. Then, it's not that I don't want to. I can't. Old Master Hua knew all about his pain and suffering. Old Master Hua was well aware of Lu Tongjia's pain and suffering, because Old Master Hua knew and understood. So for so many years, he had never said a word about the relationship between mother and son. Old Master Hua had experienced a lot, so his mentality was different. He was able to accept it, and he could bear more. But other people might not be able to. He understood it all. So although he felt sorry for Hua Jingyao, he would never let him go. Whether it's the Hua family or Tianyu Group, these are all my responsibilities. If Hua Jinkai were still alive, these would be Hua Jinkai's responsibilities. But Hua Jinkai was gone. His death had a lot to do with him. Even though he had repeatedly told himself that their deaths were accidents, it was useless. Unless one day, there is someone who can really shoulder these responsibilities. Otherwise, I will continue to carry them. Su Qingsang didn't say anything. She understood him and his choice. However, what about Hua Yifan? Him? Hua Jingyao didn't have a bad impression of Hua Yifan. They used to have a good relationship. But he didn't know when Hua Yifan and the others started to have other thoughts. Not only them, but also the Wei family and even the Lu family. The root cause of all this was Lu Tongjia's undisguised attitude. Hua Jingyao knew that, but because of his tolerance for Lu Tongjia, he had no choice but to tolerate these things as well. Don't worry, he won't be able to do anything. Whether it was him or his older brother in the past, they were all heirs who had been carefully trained by Old Master Hua. In this aspect, Old Master Hua didn't insist on the eldest son and grandson to inherit, nor was he biased. It was because he believed that everyone had different responsibilities to bear. The emphasis he placed on nurturing each of his grandchildren was also different. Hua Yifan wasn't bad, but his weakness was that he was too confident and easily arrogant. With this weakness, Tianyu Group couldn't be expanded in his hands. Therefore, Hua Jinyao would never be a match for him. I know you're better than him. Su Qingseng was worried about other things. But he's with Su Peijian now. I have a feeling that they're not coming with good intentions. Hua Jinyao leaned over and kissed her cheek. Thank you for the compliment, wife. You also said that your husband is better than him. If that's the case, even if Su Peijian is added, so what? Su Qingseng nodded and laughed at herself for thinking too much. Anyway, I don't know much about your business. I can't help much. I just hope that you can be well. Hua Jinyao reached out and rubbed the top of her head. Let's go. You rest for a while. We should have dinner later. When the two of them were about to go downstairs, Su Qingseng glanced at the room next door. Is Uncle Ichin okay? To avoid arousing suspicion, she left when the doctors were treating Zhang Yichen. She didn't stay. He's fine. But I don't think he can get up for dinner. It was good that he couldn't get up. Until now, Su Qingseng thought that Zhang Yichen had done that to her because he was drugged and drunk. Only he knew very well that it wasn't the case. The drug had only stimulated the deepest feelings in Zhang Yichen's heart. Zhang Yichen really had feelings for Su Qingseng. However, Hua Jinyao wouldn't tell Su Qingseng about it. He thought about how she had cried for him, and how she had wanted to rush to Lu Tongjia to explain for him. His Qingseng was so good. It wasn't surprising that a man liked her. However, he still hoped that there would be fewer rivals in love. Su Qingseng nodded. She sympathized with Lu Tongjia, but she couldn't understand her. If Lu Tongjia really succeeded in framing him, wouldn't it be better to let others know that she had a daughter-in-law who cheated on her husband? Or did she really hate Hua Jinyao to such an extent? Not only did she want to take away his power in the company, but she also wanted to ruin his reputation. Su Qingseng sighed in her heart. If Lu Tongjia really wanted to do that, if Hua Jinyao stubbornly refused to explain the misunderstanding between them, who could guess what Lu Tongjia would do in the future? Don't worry. Hua Jinyao seemed to know what she was thinking. He suddenly stopped walking. I've already told my mother. She won't do something like that again. Su Qingseng looked at his expressionless face when he said that. She could almost guess Lu Tongjia's expression when he said that. Your mother. I told her that you're my bottom line. There won't be a next time. Su Qingseng pursed her lips, bit her lip, and nodded heavily. She suddenly realized that she loved Hua Jinyao more and more. Other than love, she also felt sorry for him and admired him. No one's son could have done this. But Hua Jinyao did. He had endured a lot that he shouldn't have. He had also experienced a lot that he shouldn't have. The heavens were really too unfair to him. During dinner, several people at the table didn't look good. Hua Jinyao and Su Qingseng didn't need to be mentioned. Although Su Qingseng had a buffer from the previous emotions, she still didn't understand Lu Tongjia's behavior when she saw her again. Lu Tongjia didn't look good either. Hua Mingguang wasn't in the room in the afternoon. She stayed alone the whole afternoon. Hua Jinyao's words still affected her. She didn't cry, but her eyes were a little red, and her face looked a little haggard. If one looked carefully, they would find that she had put on some powder to hide her emotions at the moment. Hua Jinyao didn't look at Lu Tongjia, so he didn't notice the change in her expression. No matter how much Hua Jinyao could bear it, he didn't want to talk to her now. Su Qingseng didn't notice her expression either. She couldn't forgive Lu Tongjia now. Old Master Hua and Hua Mingguang noticed it. However, there were too many relatives today, so it wasn't convenient for them to ask. Hua Mingguang leaned close to Lu Tongjia's ear and spoke softly. If you're tired, go to bed early at night. Everyone is here for dinner. You'd better cheer up. They had been married for many years, so he could tell that she wasn't in a good mood at the moment. Lu Tongjia glanced at her husband, and finally responded with a soft hum. She looked exhausted. Su Peijian and Hua Yifan arrived late. Su Peijian's face was rosy. His face was beaming with happiness. Everyone present only thought that Su Peijian and Hua Yifan had a good relationship. But it was different for Nian Chuanya. Seeing her appearance, Nian Chuanya frowned slightly. She was going to marry her son in the future. No matter how much old Master Hua liked her, she didn't know how to behave, and didn't know how to respect her as a mother. That was enough to make her unhappy. Su Peijian didn't care about Nian Chuanya's expression. She openly hooked her arm around Hu Yifan's. When she approached the crowd, she looked around and finally fixed her eyes on Su Qingsang's face. Chapter 577. Dinner was not as lively as lunch. Many of them were drunk and could not get up. Zhang Yichen was the most powerful among them. Not only was he drunk, but he was also drugged. Even if the doctor treated him, he wouldn't be able to wake up in a moment or two. Before Wuxia went downstairs for dinner, she went to check on Zhang Yichen. Of course, she didn't know what Zhang Yichen had just been through. She only thought that he was too happy today and had a few too many drinks. However, Su Peijian knew very well that Zhang Yichen was not drunk at all. Zhang Yichen was upstairs, and Su Qingsang didn't look well. The combination of these phenomena was enough to make Su Peijian wonder what on earth had just happened. A gloating smile appeared on her face. What did Zhang Yichen do? She was starting to get curious. There were fewer people at dinner, but it was still lively. At the dinner table, people were toasting each other. But under the dinner table, people were having different thoughts. Su Qingsang was in no mood to socialize today. All her attention was on Hu Jingyao and Lu Tongjia. She always felt that things shouldn't be like this, and the relationship between mother and son shouldn't be like this. Although she and Li Qianxue weren't together after they met, Li Qianxue's care and love for her had never diminished. He would video call her every day and send her messages frequently. Her words were filled with concern. She understood Li Qianxue's thoughts. She had missed out on the mother-daughter relationship for so many years, and she wanted to make up for it. What about Lu Tongjia? Hu Jingyao had grown up. If Lu Tongjia really wanted to make it up to him, what could she do? More importantly, Lu Tongjia probably wouldn't even think of asking for compensation. She couldn't help but look at Lu Tongjia. She also seemed to be a little distracted. She looked at Hu Jingyao again. At that moment, Hu Jingyao picked up a piece of fish and put it in her bowl. He gave her a look, and she understood what he meant. If she could, she really wanted to clarify things with Lu Tongjia. But Hu Jingyao wouldn't let her. The meal was delicious, but Su Qingsang felt tasteless. She knew it was a dead knot, but she really wanted to untie this knot. While Su Peijian was talking to Hu Yifan, she happened to see Hu Jingyao putting food into Su Qingsang's bowl. She narrowed her eyes. Could it be that Zhang Yichen didn't do what she expected? How could this be? If Zhang Yichen didn't have any medicine, then what she had done today would have been for nothing. She looked down and bit her lip. There was a hint of a cold smile in her beautiful eyes. Zhang Yichen was in the army and rarely came out. Then, what else could she do to get a chance? What if she stayed here tonight? Su Peijian didn't expect that even if she stayed tonight, she wouldn't have a chance. During the Dragon Boat Festival, Li Junsheng also went to Rong City. Hu Jingyao went to the party with them. In the past, he would have asked Zhang Yichen to come along. But not today. Yesterday's incident had created a barrier in his heart. He thought that he might not be able to be as honest with Zhang Yichen as he used to be. The only thing that made Hu Jingyao feel a little better was that Su Qingsang didn't know what Zhang Yichen was thinking. Zhang Yichen woke up the day after the Dragon Boat Festival. He was a soldier and had a strong will. If it wasn't for the special situation yesterday, he would never have allowed himself to make a mistake. He would not allow himself to lose control. But he didn't expect that he would still get drunk despite all his precautions. Forget about getting drunk. How could he lose control? Zhang Yichen rubbed his temples. There was a part of his memory that he didn't remember yesterday. But there was a part that was especially clear. He thought that he was hallucinating when he was hugging a woman, and hugging Hu Jingyao when he was drunk. At that moment, he could only feel lucky that he didn't lose control in front of Su Qingsang. He didn't know that he had already lost control in front of Su Qingsang. He didn't know that he had already lost control in front of Su Qingsang. Fortunately, Su Qingsang knew that he was drugged and drunk. Zhang Yichen didn't know that he was drugged. He only knew that he was drunk. He could hold his liquor well. In the past, when he was drunk, he only slept. That was why he could drink without worry. But why did he lose control yesterday? Zhang Yichen didn't understand, but he was sure of one thing. Hu Jingyao he knew. He buried his face in his palms. He He wanted to keep it a secret. What should he do now? Su Peijian didn't look very good after leaving the Hua mansion. Su Qingseng didn't stay at the Hua mansion yesterday. She left with Hua Jinyao after dinner. Seeing how Hua Jinyao cared for her when she left, Su Peijian knew that what Zhang Yichen did yesterday didn't affect her at all. That made her very unhappy. Her plan failed. She didn't know when she would get another chance like this. She was very anxious about this, and it was easy to see how she felt. Her expression was so obvious that even Hu Yifan noticed it. What's wrong? Nothing. Su Peijian didn't want to tell Hu Yifan that she had set Zhang Yichen up. She knew very well that if she told Hu Yifan about it, he would probably object, because of Hu Yangxiu's relationship with Old Master Hua. My intuition tells me that the bad thing you wanted to do just now failed. Isn't that right? Hu Yifan was a smart man. He knew from Su Peijian's expression that her plan must have failed. He curled his lips and smiled wickedly. Don't tell me that you tried to set Su Qingseng up today and failed. Yes, I failed. Su Peijian curled her lips and said coldly, You should be disappointed that I failed. What do you mean by gloating like that? Nothing. Hu Yifan pulled her into his arms and said, You should have told me that you tried to set Su Qingseng up in the Hua mansion. This is the Hua mansion after all. Hua Jinyao is there, so you have no chance. No matter how much Auntie doesn't like Su Qingseng, she won't let you do anything. You know, this is a very embarrassing thing to do. Su Peijian didn't say anything. In fact, she just wanted to embarrass Su Qingseng and let Hua Jinyao know that he had been cheated on. Today's plan was a little rushed. If she was more familiar with the Hua mansion and had more opportunities, she believed that she would succeed. Alright, don't think about it. You know how protective Hua Jinyao is of Su Qingseng. If you want to set her up again, you'd better do it when he's not here. Of course, it would be easier to do it outside the Hua mansion. Su Peijian narrowed her eyes and began to seriously consider the feasibility of this matter. However, there was no hurry. There were more important things to do now. Alright, I will deal with Su Qingseng. You should focus on the company. We can't lose this time. Don't worry. Don't you trust me? Hu Yifan laughed arrogantly. He thought that all his actions were secret, and no one would notice. Su Peijian didn't like his smug look. Part of her personality was like Su Qinghui's. She liked to think more about things. She always had a feeling that things wouldn't be as simple as Hu Yifan thought. However, seeing his confident look, Su Peijian didn't want to hurt him. She turned over and fell asleep. When she got up in the morning, she met Lu Tongjia and found that she didn't look good. Su Peijian had wanted to cooperate with her before. However, there was no opportunity to cooperate now. She naturally thought that Lu Tongjia was giving her a hard time. This made Su Peijian's mood even worse. When she got home, Xiang Kaiping was reading the newspaper in the living room. When she saw her come in, she looked up at her with a very complicated expression. Mom, I'm home. Su Peijian changed her shoes and sat down on the sofa opposite Xiang Kaiping. There were fruits on the table. They were all washed. She picked up a bunch of grapes and ate too. When she found that Xiang Kaiping was still looking at her, she sat up uncomfortably. What's wrong? Mom, have you had breakfast? I haven't eaten yet. Can you see if there's anything to eat? Ms. Zhao is in the kitchen. You can ask her. Xiang Kaiping glanced at her. She still couldn't ask the question that was on the tip of her tongue. Su Peijian went to the kitchen to find something to eat without noticing. Xiang Kaiping looked at her back with an indecipherable expression. When Su Peijian came out, she found that Xiang Kaiping was no longer in the living room. She was more or less relieved. When she was with Li Qianxue always went along with her. Of course, if she did something wrong, Li Qianxue would also blame her. She would tell her what not to do. However, ever since she met Xiang Kaiping, she was always a little afraid of her. Su Peijian understood that it was because Xiang Kaiping didn't want to lose her daughter, so she always went along with her. She enjoyed this feeling. In her opinion, Xiang Kaiping would never leave her or betray her. After all, they were blood relatives. She believed that Xiang Kaiping would never leave her. It could only be said that Su Peijian was too confident. After returning to her room, Xiang Kaiping locked the door and walked to the table in the room. She opened the lock of the last drawer and took out a photo album. When she was young, she didn't like taking photos very much. Therefore, there weren't many photos. The album was still the one she had taken when she lived with Su Qingsang. There were also some photos of her and Su Qingsang. There were also photos with Hu Jiniao. At the end of the album, there was a photo she had clipped after she came back. That photo was taken when the child was born. She didn't know what she was thinking, but she asked the nurse to take a photo of the child. She looked at the child back then and thought about Su Peijian now. Xiang Kaiping couldn't tell how she felt. She turned the page and looked at the photo of her and Su Qingsang again. At that time, her smile was real. She was also in a good mood. But now, she couldn't think about it. Xiang Kaiping felt sad when she thought about it. She felt that she really didn't know how to vent the anger in her heart, nor did she know how to relieve her depression. Previously, when she was with Su Qingsang, she even gave up being with Hu Jiniao to accompany her to Japan for New Year's. Later, in order to take care of herself, she didn't go back to Rong City with Hu Jiniao for New Year's. Su Qingsang knew how many rules there were in a big family like the Hu family, but she still did that. Now Su Peijian had nothing to do, but she ran out early and stayed outside for a day. She didn't even call. She didn't tell her where she went, nor did she tell her what she was busy with that day. Yesterday was the Dragon Boat Festival. Even though this festival wasn't like the Spring Festival or the Mid-Autumn Festival, which focused on family reunion, but at this time Xiang Kaiping was still disappointed. Su Peijian really didn't care about her mother. She closed the photo album and locked it back in the bottom drawer. There was no longer any joy on her face. What was she going to do with this daughter of hers? Hu Jiniao was listening to Yang Wenchang talk about Hu Yifun's movements these days. From the looks of it, his plan was going well. Because Hu Yifun didn't suspect anything and trusted them. He curled the corners of his mouth, and there was a faint smile in his eyes. This was one of the few things that had put him in a good mood recently. Keep watching him. I believe he'll take the bait soon. Yang Wenchang nodded and was about to leave. The intercom rang. Someone was looking for Hu Jiniao. It had been a few days since Hu Jiniao saw Zhang Yichen again. He wasn't disheveled like he was on the day of the Dragon Boat Festival, nor was he blushing like that night. He stood there as straight as a pine tree. Hu Jiniao narrowed his eyes. He didn't miss the trace of guilt that flashed across Zhang Yichen's eyes. "Uncle, you're here?" He didn't rush to get up when he saw Zhang Yichen like before. He pressed the intercom and asked someone to bring tea. After the secretary left, he gestured for Zhang Yichen to sit down. Zhang Yichen didn't sit down. He still stood there. "I thought Uncle had returned to the army. Why haven't you gone back?" "I went back, but I'm back. What's the matter?" Hu Jiniao was much calmer than before, which was enough to explain the problem. Zhang Yichen knew that Hu Jiniao already knew, but he still couldn't say it. "That day I'm sorry. I was drunk." Zhang Yichen's voice was soft, but he didn't mean to excuse himself. "That day? Uncle, which day are you talking about?" Hu Jiniao didn't seem to understand. He turned to look at Zhang Yichen with a puzzled expression. Zhang Yichen stood even straighter than before. He slightly clenched his fists by his sides, then quickly loosened them. "That day of the Dragon Boat Festival was wrong. Uncle, you said you were drunk. Since you were drunk, I won't take it seriously." Zhang Yichen looked at him and took a step forward. "I didn't come here today to cover up or anything else. I just want to say that it's just me. Su Qingsang doesn't know, so you..." "Uncle." Hu Jiniao abruptly stood up. He walked around his gigantic desk and walked up to Zhang Yichen step by step, then stood still. "What are you trying to say?" "I just want to tell you that Su Qingsang doesn't know. No matter what you heard that day, or what you know, it's just me." Uncle." Once again, Hu Jiniao interrupted him. His expression was cold, and his eyes were even colder. "Are you explaining for Su Qingsang?" "I don't want you to misunderstand." "I didn't misunderstand. You, on the other hand, if you continue to explain, I will really misunderstand." Hu Jiniao's eyes were sharp, and his expression was serious. "Uncle, I have always respected you, both in the past and now. But this time, I don't think you need to explain." He took a step forward, almost standing next to Zhang Yichen. Their bodies were very close to each other. They were both tall and imposing. Zhang Yichen had the sharpness of a soldier, while Hu Jingyao had the aura of a leader for many years. The two of them looked at each other. For some reason there was a feeling of sparks flying in the air. Hu Jingyao raised his chin and looked at Zhang Yichen with a very sharp look. Uncle, you don't need to explain what you're thinking. As for Su Qingsang, you don't need to explain for her. She is my wife. I trust her. I trust her, just as I am willing to respect Uncle's character. I've already forgotten what happened that day. You were just drunk. So you should forget it too. Zhang Yichen pressed his lips into a straight line and looked at Hu Jingyao. You know how much I can drink. I've never been drunk before. It was an accident. So as he said, I will forget it. For so many years, every step that Zhang Yichen took was within his plan. However, he never thought that he would encounter something that was not part of his plan. That was Su Qingsang's existence. He tried his best to control himself, but he didn't expect that he would break his plan without even knowing it. Not only did he let Hu Jingyao know what he was thinking, but also, Hu Jingyao didn't answer him. He just stared at Zhang Yichen's face for a while, then said in a low voice, although what happened that day was an accident, I think you shouldn't come to the Hu family again, if you don't have anything else to do. Zhang Yichen suddenly raised his head to look at Hu Jingyao. He looked shocked and hurt. Uncle, you think you can drink well, but is your tolerance for drugs as well? What do you mean? Nothing. Hu Jingyao's voice was flat. Uncle, you keep saying that you got drunk by accident. That's why you lost control. But what you don't know is that someone drugged the soup that I gave you that day. It was because of the drug that Uncle lost his composure. Someone drugged me. Zhang Yichen had never thought of that possibility. After all, when he woke up, Hu Jingyao and Su Qingsang had already left. The doctor wasn't there, and Lu Tongjia couldn't have told him about it. No one knew that Zhang Yichen had been drugged, except for Su Qingsang and the others. Yes, Uncle, you were drugged, and under the influence of the drug, you lost control. Who? Zhang Yichen didn't look happy. He didn't expect to encounter such a thing in the Hu family. It doesn't matter who drugged you. Hu Jingyao looked at him with a serious expression. What matters is why that person drugged you. Jingyao, Uncle, have you ever thought about it? You think that you're hiding your feelings well. But what if someone saw through it? Not only did that person see through it, but he also took advantage of it. In fact, the person who he wanted to hurt might not be you, but Su Qingsang. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.